This is a very important program here tonight. This is not hyperbole. This is not clickbait. This is a very long overdue final report card on the feminist era, and in particular, its chief mascot and greatest war criminal, one Oprah Winfrey. After all these decades, if you want to see what it all came down to, if you want to see what it all boiled down to and what the final results would be, well, here we are. We are now here with her audience to witness the final results. Oprah Winfrey has made her way over to YouTube, and now she has a YouTube program because she can't get back on TV. She got run off of television because the slum that she created overran her with folks who were even more slutty. Jerry Springer and a bunch of other folk were beating her in the ratings. She still tries to pretend like nobody remembers that, by the way, to this day. No, I mean that she said it. However, she said it was because of her own choice, but in reality, that wasn't the case. However, now that she's on the internet, she's taken right up where she left off at. You would figure that she would be somewhere, collecting cobwebs and tasting different cat foods or something like that is what you would think she'd be doing. But no, once a psycho, always a psycho. And she has returned back. She's now on the internet and she hasn't changed a beat. She's doing a program now. She did a program here recently called Gray Divorce. And this program is essentially a final report and tally on her legacy, on the things she said, on the advice she gave, and what it has done to women basically over her tenure of broadcasting. And that's where the timeline sticks. So what I want to do here, we're going to play some of this. Fair use, Oprah. Fair use. I want to play some parts of it here for you and listen what the timelines are. And what you see is it's a rather damning commentary on the absolutely destructive effect that this evil woman has had on the society now, going on half a century.
There are conversations that can be additive to your life, and I want to focus on what I see happening in the world, and then we can try to make some sense of it together. So recently, I started hearing, y'all, about more and more people who have been married for decades starting to get divorced. Has anybody else heard this? Yes.
So Oprah comes to the internet to re-enter public life after the beating that Kamala Harris took with her support. And what do you know? She doesn't, surprise, surprise, she doesn't focus on anything positive. Surprise, surprise, she doesn't focus on anything that you'd be happy with, so much for joy. Why, no, she wants to tell you how great it is for her that, by the way, y'all are getting old and getting divorced over here. I noticed that. So she didn't notice anything good. You figured she'd be off and retired and having fun. Oh, wait a minute, she can't do that. So what she's doing is return back to type and to tell you, by the way, let's focus on how awful and terrible things are, because that is a reflection of her life. So just wanted to let you all know that, by the way, she wants to come back and doesn't have anything positive or nice to say. It's, hey, let's talk about some bad things here. Let's get in a circle and talk about misery.
Okay. And I thought to myself, well, that never used to happen. Once people made it past a certain number, like 20 years, you're just in it for life.
Just there.
You're just going to take yourself all the way to the flat line, So then I find out.
I mean, do you see how she's mocking marriage here? Do you see how she's just mocking it? I mean, I figure you in there a couple of decades and you just going to go on to the flat line. She's not joking. She is absolutely corrosive about it, but she's not joking here. She's got an absolute contempt because anything that involves men, she just can't contain herself. And so she's letting you know, by the way, that's what she really thinks of it. And she looks at her life, and this is actually a backhanded way of her trying to validate her own life and say, oh, all y'all other women thought y'all was doing better than me. This is all it's really worth right here, so you should have just stuck with me. Remember those words, because I'm going to come back to that sentence that you should have stuck with her.
Out that even though divorce is at a 50-year low here in the United States, wow, the rate of what's being called gray divorce, that's divorce over 50, is actually soaring through the roof. And
did you hear that? Even though divorce is, and by the way, you got to scrape under those numbers, even though divorce rates have been going down, although the pandemic had something to do with that, don't worry, it's already starting to rebound. But she's telling you that, by the way, divorce folk over 50. Wow, Oprah, that's your generation, that's your demographic. Those are the women who were young women. They were teenagers or young women. This was your audience, Oprah. Starting in the 80s, clean through the 2000s. This is your audience. And what you're now telling us is the effect that you had on your generation and your audience. Specifically, that group right there is what she's saying. She's saying isolating them, specifically that group. She's had an absolutely diabolical effect on specifically that demographic.
You're just going to take yourself all the way to the flat line, you know? So then I find out that even though divorce is at a 50-year low here in the United States, wow, the rate of what's being called gray divorce, that's divorce over 50, is actually soaring through the roof. And listen to this. The divorce rate for people over age 50 has doubled, and for people over 65, divorce rate has tripled. Wow.
Is at this point right here, you would expect that Oprah Winfrey in her sick, demented skull is doing a victory lap. Roger and Michael King, and we can never leave them out, King World Entertainment, who grabbed this mentally and emotionally deranged, psychotic media lunatic. And this was their goal all along, by the way, Roger and Michael King. That's the story for another program, but I don't see how you examine this without taking a look at the two chief villains in the story. But this was what they wanted. This is the effect of it here, and this is what you see happening. This is what she did. Didn't make the environment one damn bit better. Made everything a hellscape for her generation with the hopes that it would bleed over into the succeeding generations. Our job is to make sure that doesn't happen. But by the way, when she takes a look at these stats, she says to herself, job well done. This is what she did to destroy her generation.
Gray divorce, that's divorce over 50, is actually soaring through the roof. And listen to this. The divorce rate for people over age 50 has doubled, and for people over 65, divorce rate has tripled. Wow. I thought that would shock you. Isn't that crazy? That never used to happen. So what is going on? Dr. Susan Brown is the distinguished professor of sociology and co-director of the National Center for Family and Marriage Research at Bowling Green State University in Ohio. And she has been researching divorce now for more than 15 years and helped coin this phrase that we're going to be talking about today called gray divorce through her multiple studies on this phenomenon. So Dr. Brown, tell us what you found. What is going on?
Well, I think it's fair to say that back in 1990, older people really didn't get divorced. Only 8% of people divorcing that year were over the age of 50. But today, 40% of people who are divorcing in the United States are 50 or older. And
40% of the people in the United States today filing divorce are over the age of 50. Now, this is not me talking. This is Oprah Winfrey and her academics up here to tell you that, by the way, hey, Oprah, this is what you did to your generation and those adjacent to it. This is the absolutely demonic, acidic, toxic effect that you had. Oprah Winfrey was nothing but a free-flowing sewer pipe of garbage. And everything she did was to encourage people to be at each other's throats. And she is truly the mother of the gender wars. Oprah Winfrey is the mother of the gender wars. It was her sole psychotic, sick mission in life to sow these seeds of sexual dissent. And they're coming back now and letting her know, by the way, Oprah, well, I guess it must have been worth it for you because, yet, take a look at what the rates are. For specifically the people and the women you were talking to, yeah, take a look at what you did. And you know that Oprah's sitting there in her head just sitting back with fiendish glee. Everybody else is stuck in the same quagmire and cesspool along with her.
Brown, tell us what you found. What is going on?
Well, I think it's fair to say that back in 1990, older people really didn't get divorced. Only 8% of people divorcing that year were over the age of 50. But today, 40% of people who are divorcing in the United States are 50 or older, and 10% are 65 or above. And you know what got me interested in this topic was when Al and Tipper Gore announced back in 2010 that they were calling it quits after more than 40 years of marriage. And my colleague and I were chatting about that and trying to figure out, is this some kind of celebrity phenomenon, or is this actually happening to everyday Americans? And so we decided we were going to crunch the numbers, and we were really floored to find out that the rate of divorce for people over age 50 had doubled since 1990.
Wow. And the reason is?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons. I mean, one thing that we can point to is that the norm of marriage as a lifelong institution is eroding, because now what we're doing is turning to our marriages for self-fulfillment. And when we're unsatisfied, most Americans, including older adults, see divorce as an acceptable solution.
So what did she say there? She said that since 1990, Oprah Winfrey becomes nationally syndicated in the early mid-80s, and within a decade, the train begins leaving the station. A decade of, women, aren't you just very unhappy? Aren't men just the root of all your problems? We should get together as women with no men around, and while the men are at work, these, quote, daytime talk shows, while the men are at work, what are your stay-at-home wives and stay-at-home moms doing? You're at work, but she's sitting in front of the TV. Back then, there was Phil Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, and then later came Oprah Winfrey. And then you had, Jenny, what was her name, and Ricky Lake, and the rest, Montel Williams, the rest of them come later. So, yeah, I'm putting the timeline here together for you for anybody who may not have been aware, or anybody who wasn't watching, or anybody who didn't see what was happening there. By the way, this is the timeline. Yeah, Jenny Jones. This is the timeline, folks. If you weren't paying attention or you weren't aware of it, this is what was going on. That you see when Oprah Winfrey takes to the air, and then you see when the train comes off the track. A decade later, there are serious ramifications and real world consequences for what she was doing. And by the way, it's not lost on me here. You got females in the audience here. You can take a look at the shots here of the chicks in their 50s or older trying to show off their wares. After all these decades, there's folks, that's not lost on me. They've aged out too, but they hate men, but at the same time, they need them, and it's, oh, hell. So just couldn't help but notice, by the way, they're showing off Oprah wanted to let you know they're showing off their wares. Don't worry, there's half a century of depreciation, but don't let that get in the way of anything.
Two is that the norm of marriage as a lifelong institution is eroding, because now what we're doing is turning to our marriages for self-fulfillment. And when we're unsatisfied, most Americans, including older adults, see divorce as an acceptable solution. We can also point to the rising rate of female labor force participation. The vast majority of wives are working now, and so they can afford to get divorced. They're no longer economically dependent on their husbands. And we can also point to the gains that we've made in health and longevity. Those have changed the calculus. If you survive to age 65 these days, you can expect to live another 20 years, which is a long time to spend with someone you're not that into anymore.
Okay, and take a look at the women. Clearly, this doesn't bother them. This is a source of entertainment for them. Clearly, it doesn't bother them. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Well, yeah, by the way, it's not bothering them any. Matter of fact, they think this is all fun and games. Because what did she just say? Well, marriage, now people see marriage as a source of personal fulfillment. What does that mean? Well, to the females of the post-Oprah generation, that means that getting married is supposed to be some kind of amusement park ride. It's supposed to be some type of graduation. You know, it's supposed to give you some thrill seeking. That's the purpose of marriage. That marriage's purpose is, like when you got your college degree, only it's supposed to be better. Or when you bought a new purse, only better. Or when you bought some shoes, only better. It's supposed to be one of these check boxes in your life. As a female, marriage is just a check box. A check box that is supposed to increase and improve your personal and social status. That's what its purpose is. So just like when you got a job and when you got a driver's license and when you got your degree, well, marriage is supposed to be another check box that leads to your personal fulfillment and your status bloating. That's what it's supposed to be. You parade your husband around like your little poodle dog, like Oprah would do. And if that fails, well, then now I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I'm just stifled. So if she has to work, I have to work and do everything at home. If she's a stay-at-home woman, me staying at home, I'm doing more work than you as a man. And it's like,
oh, please.
Flipping the switch on the washing machine is work, ma'am. If you have a spy camera in your house to show what your woman does when you go to work, I'll be damned. She is not in that house doing anything of labor for 8 hours, much less 9. And yet they have persisted in insisting on this lie the whole time because in their minds, marriage is about a man increasing their life and their lifestyle with zero effort or responsibility on her part. It's supposed to fulfill the ultimate exploitation fantasy that you now get to live like you did under your parents. You get to live with somebody taking care of you, obligated, not just taking care of you, they're legally obligated to do so. And you don't have to shoulder any more maturity or responsibility anymore. That'll be his job. Just like it was your mom's job or your dad's job. Well, now it's going to be your husband's job to be the adult. And you should be alleviated from all that because after all, it's not a good marriage if you are not the princess. And princesses are not supposed to have to work or do anything. So he should be grateful. If you do so much as vacuum a rug, he shouldn't just be, he should be damn me grateful that you vacuum that rug. And that is the radioactive sewage that they have been feeding them all this time. And now, Oprah Winfrey, almost half a century later, take a look at the women who listened and how this is working out for them.
And that's why people are coming to you.
Yes.
Susan Guthrie was a top family law attorney and mediator for more than 30 years. And 6 years ago, Susan started the popular podcast, Divorce and Beyond. And I really love that title because there is a beyond and it's forward thinking. So Susan, you have worked with just hundreds of people, right, who have gone through this great divorce. And what do you see happening?
You know, it's such a good question because I have.
I'm going to stop this right quick and remind you that Oprah's sitting there talking about divorce and beyond. And I want to there is a beyond divorce. So Oprah Winfrey is still this psychotic lunatic, still telling you that a woman's only at her best if she's alone. So her goal of every conversation is to tell you that you're better off alone, you know, like her. So that's going to be her answer to everything.
I have to say 30 years ago, like my colleague said, Dr. Brown, we didn't see great divorce. We saw people, you know, in the early stages of divorce splitting up. But then I would say probably 20, 15 years ago, I still remember my first 40 plus year divorce. And it was so unusual that it still stays in my mind 30
so tell us about
years
it.
later.
Yeah, what she's saying here is that, you know, we didn't start seeing this happen until about a decade into Oprah Winfrey's broadcasting career. Oprah Winfrey was on the air for about 10 years before you started seeing those numbers move. And after 20 years of Oprah on the air, oh man, it was just, the train was barreling down the tracks. So for a woman who had never been married and never had children, except there was a couple of abortions in there, Oprah Winfrey sure did spend her whole damn life fixating on destroying marriages everywhere she could go. And they paid her handsomely, this psychotic feminist lunatic, they paid her handsomely to destroy your family, to destroy your moms, to contaminate your mothers and destroy your mothers and talk about how great single motherhood is and that the only problem women have is the males. Even if you're a female who isn't with a man, the men are still your problem. And your life, the only thing your life is missing is that we can get rid of these men. Whether you're married or not.
You know, it was a tale that may sound more familiar these days. It was a couple who had met in their late teens. He was a public servant and he worked day shift. She worked night shift. He retired after 42 years. And yes, I see, right?
Yeah.
He retired.
Who is that, Tim Conway? For those of you old enough to remember Tim Conway. I mean, do you see this, folks? This is not 1987, 1997. This is 2025. And her audience, all she said was the man, he finally retired. He worked his whole damn life to take care of this woman and finally retires. And the women in the audience, because this audience is practically all women, they sit up here and they start groaning as if, oh, shouldn't have retired. The real point is I want you to understand that these are folks communicating something to you. They don't like men. They need men. Men make things greater in their lives and better, but they have a need-hate relationship. They hate that they need you because you can do all the things that they can't. And you're really here just to be used. And that this man worked his whole damn life to take care of this woman. And as soon as he, quote, retires, the audience starts groaning because, oh, he done messed up now. Why does he have to retire? He done messed up now. This is what they really think of a man, is that he's really at his best if he's worked like a dog until he drops dead. Now, that's not just I don't like you, that's contempt. Why would their response be to hearing that was going to retire, that, oh boy, here we go. Why does it have to be that? Of course, because they hate you.
In their late teens, he was a public servant, and he worked day shift. She worked night shift. Okay. He retired after 42 years. And yes, I see, right?
Yeah.
He retired. He was home all day when she was home all day. And they were in attorneys' offices within 3 months.
Wow.
Do you see how the audience sits up here and responds as if the problem is the men? The man coming home to a house that he worked and paid for. Do you see what their response is? So you're the man. You're supposed to just make sure the woman has everything. And if you dare to come to the house that you paid for, so you can, because she ain't working at all. And if you finally say, you know what, can I get some of that not working thing? Oh, hell no. This is their reflexive response, is that a man should not feel at home even in the house that he paid for. That the only desirable situation is if you're not there. You just finance her life and pay for it like her parents, but you don't intrude with your presence. And then you're saying within weeks of him retiring, she was going for divorce. She meant to do that the whole damn time. She's like, hey, this marriage isn't worth it if I have to actually be with you. I don't see any point in being married if I have to actually be around the man that I'm married to. A steady diet of this vomit. Going on 5 decades now.
Within 3 months.
Wow, y'all.
Okay, 3 months.
So it worked as long as he was out?
They never saw, I mean, they did have 4 children, so they saw each other at some points. But when they had to spend those days together, they truly found, and this is what I think I've seen a lot with the great divorces, is 2 people who 40 years in had nothing in common with each other anymore. Yeah.
How can that be if he wasn't intruding anything? He's not cheating on her, beating on her, sweeping on her, sleeping on her. He's working, he's taking care of stuff, and then they had kids. And the next thing you know, they're dumping it on the man that everything was fine until he came home to his own house. So in other words, if she could not use you and exploit you in peace, then the marriage was no longer useful. Although Oprah never takes the conversation in that very obvious direction. Why didn't she take it in the obvious direction and say, wow, so it looks like she only wanted a husband as long as she could exploit the situation. She didn't actually want a husband. She wanted somebody to pay for her life and support her, but she didn't actually want a husband. She just wanted to find somebody she could use. Because if we switched the roles and said that as a man, he was sitting at home being a house husband, and as soon as his wife retired, he filed for divorce 3 months later. Now, if the roles were reversed and you were sitting there in front of Oprah Winfrey and saying, you know, she worked for 30 years and paid for the house and the kids and stuff, that's great. But, you know, I mean, 3 months after she retired, you know, I just realized we don't have much in common. They would be saying that he wants to get back on the streets. He's not a good man. He's a bad husband. He's a bad person. Now, that's what they would say if the roles were reversed and the man left his woman 3 months after she retired and he had been sitting at home the whole time. And yet she doesn't bring that up here. Of course, because she is the same evil, putrid individual she's always been.
And now women who are filing more so than men, right? Women feel like I have another 10, 15, 20 years. Why should I stay?
Oh, that hurt her demonic, psychotic feelings. Yes, I'm going to keep calling her a psycho because she is.
Deal with it, nigga.
Oh, for her to have to admit, by the way, the women file for divorce more than the men. Damn. Oh boy, it's the 21st century. Them old weak bastards from the baby boomer civil rights generation, they did not make an issue with this. On television, they did not make an obvious issue to simply point out, by the way, it's not the men breaking up the homes, it's the women doing it. And now she's over here on our turf. She's on our turf. She's on our domain. The message has gotten all the way through. You can't talk here unless you acknowledge the reality of it. And the reality is, it's the women breaking up the homes. It's the women filing the divorces. This is not a male phenomenon. This is a female activity. If you all agree, give me the calendar emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. It's almost 2,000 people in here live on a Freaky Friday here. Time to get your Halloween jollies in or whatever you want to do. It's up to you. Some of y'all are going to have your jack-o'-lanterns out for the next couple of weeks anyway, so that's all right. But if you agree, give me the calendar emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. If people don't like the program tonight, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. I'm probably making them feel very depressed because they're very despondent. Damn, mama listened to Oprah Winfrey and you like, oh, hell, you never connected the dots. People, we're sitting here at the finish line to see, by the way, what was the legacy of all that garbage you said for decades, Oprah? Did you make things better or worse? Did things get better or worse for all the women who listened to you? Are they sitting in your audience with their husbands and their happy families? Or are all of them sitting there stuck out here and left on the roadside for pickup and then telling themselves how happy they are that they get to come clap for you again?
In a relationship when there's nothing.
When it's not serving me.
When it's not serving me.
Yeah.
Well, you all know Lori Gottlieb. She's a
Let me back that up
psychotherapist
one
in
more
New
time
York.
here.
It's not serving me.
Yeah.
Well, you all know Lori Gottlieb.
They truly found, and this is what I think I've seen a lot with the Great Divorces, is two people who 40 years in had nothing in common with each other anymore.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And now women who are filing more so than men, right? Women feel like I have another 10, 15, 20 years. Why should I stay in a relationship when there's nothing?
When it's not serving me.
When it's not serving me.
Yeah.
Oh, they said the quiet part out loud, folks. Why should I stay in a relationship when it's not serving me?
Oh, please.
Why should I stay in a relationship when it's not serving me? Well, it served you great to get married. Now, all of a sudden, well, it's not serving me. I thought marriage is about serving the other person. Yeah, well, take that little slogan back somewhere else. So I just want you all to know that even at their advanced ages, now they're dropping their masks. The masks are dropping. And now they're saying the stuff that they really meant all these decades ago. Now their mask is slipping and they're saying it out loud now. If you want to know what happened to your mom, and in some of your cases, your grandmom, if you want to know what was happening, if you want to know what they were feeding into their skulls when your dad was at work, if you want to know what was really going on and what the conversation really was and what they really took away from it, it's that marriage is about getting unlimited spills, chills, thrills, and financial support. And the man's goal is to facilitate that and not get in the way of it. And this was what they took from watching Oprah for decades.
Well, you all know Lori Gottlieb. She's a psychotherapist and New York Times bestselling author of I love this. Maybe you should talk to someone. That's the name of the book. Maybe you should talk to someone. She also writes the Ask the Therapist advice column for the New York Times. So, hi again, Lori.
Hello.
Great to see you again. Help us understand what it is women are actually navigating emotionally when they go through this great divorce.
Yeah. So it's interesting, you know.
Can you tell us what women are navigating when they go through this great divorce? Please remember, folks, Oprah Winfrey, when she was a child, oh yes, Heifer, I'm going to remind people about this. When Oprah Winfrey was a child, she said she was being molested. And not just by one person. She told that story over and over again. And then she always ended it by saying, by the way, when she left Mississippi, I think it was, and moved to go be with her dad, she kept saying that for years and years. That saved my life. That saved my life. That saved my life. Going to go be my father saved my life. So being with her mom, who she never talks about, but the time period she was there is all about molestation. Well, wasn't nobody molesting her when she went to go be with her mom. And she has been attacking and spitting nothing but venom, not at the women. She doesn't sit up here and spew this venom at the women. She's absolutely in mortal combat against the men. After conceding that going to go live with her father saved her life from what the hell was happening with her mom, she didn't come out of it holding a grudge and vengeance against the females population. Why, she's reserved all of her rancor for the men. She spent all these decades now assaulting and attacking men relentlessly. And you would think that it would be the opposite. Do you understand why Roger and Michael King chose this demented, deranged, off her rocker psycho? Yeah, I mean, they saw it and it's like, oh, good, you hate black men? Here's a TV deal. So they go and they want to talk to the therapist here and whatnot. And like I say, just letting you all, just reminding you, by the way, they no question about men, even though the women are filing all the divorces.
We've been talking about the idea that you have so much time left and you really want to think about, how do I want to spend that time? But at the same time, when you go through a divorce later in life, you lose that predictability. You had this idea, this imagined future of, I'm going to be with this person and we're going to do these things and we're going to retire in this way and our financial picture is going to look like this and our kids are going to come back to this house and come visit. And all of a sudden, there's this great unknown right in front of you. So it can be really disorienting to do this at this time of life when you were so certain that your future was going to look a certain way.
You were locked in.
I got 15 more years to live. I want to live it up. What the hell does that mean? I mean, do you all see how psychotic this conversation has gotten? They are talking about how they're going to best use their last 15 years. I got 10 more years to go here. I don't want to waste it over here. Your hips don't work. Your knee ain't no good. Where are you going? How are you going to get there? You on your hover round? This is literally the conversation that they're having here with this demented sociopath about how you're going to spend your last 10 years. Well, first, I need to get divorced. And do what? I need to run these streets. Don't worry, we're going to get to that before the evening's over. I need to hurry up and get divorced so I can run these streets as a female. Me and Tina Knowles need to be running the streets.
Yeah.
And that's why women take more of a financial hit, do they not, Dr. Brown?
Yes, they do. They experience a larger drop in their standard of living than men do, although for men, they're also taking a hit. And I would say for both men and
Did you hear that? Well, men are also taking a hit. Alimony court, child support court. Hello? That's not a hit. That's a devastation. But of course, this is Oprah and her feminist psycho audience. So of course, they're going to just, oh, the women are going through hell. Oh yeah, and the men had a few problems there too. But really, we need to focus on the women. So after all these decades, I want you to know these psychos have not let it go. They haven't stopped this garbage yet. They intend to keep doing this until they are in the ICU or hospice.
women alike, their levels of wealth, all of their savings they've amassed over decades, that's dropping by half because, of course, divorce entails the division of assets. And
all their savings over decades, folks, what I'm saying is that now you all know that's an outright lie. Women don't share their income with men. Number one, women don't build wealth.
And deal with it, nigga.
Women do not build wealth. Men are the workhorses. Men build wealth. All the wealth women have is that which is legally obligated for a man to share with her through marriage, which is why women insist on marriage, because when they look at the real amount of labor required to build any real substantial wealth, the women say not no, but oh hell nigga no. Women ain't gonna do it. We've already covered this before. Females can look at a G-Wagon. She is not trying to figure out how to pay Mercedes $3,000 a month for a G-Wagon. As soon as the man in Mercedes sits her down and tells her, okay, here's the payment. Oh, yes, you have to have insurance. You got to have that. And oh, yeah, the maintenance. Let me introduce you to A and B service. Yeah, she can look on Instagram all she wants to and fantasize. But when that man lets her know, by the way, this will be a $4,000 payment when you get all things considered, it's going to be over $4,000 just for the car. She's like, wait a minute, 6 to carry the one. Damn. Wait a minute, $48,000 a year? $48,000 a year for just the car? Forget where I live, just the car. Women are not going to do the amount to have an extra $48,000 a year in income. Women ain't going to do that. Let me remind you all again, for those of you who are new here to the Definitive School of Power Dynamics, this is just reality and mathematics I'm talking about right now. Women are not willing to work until they die. Men are the only segment of the population that is willing to die to make a paycheck. Women are not going to walk willingly, knowingly, consciously into any situation, job, or environment, knowing that your chances of dying are 50-50. Women ain't gonna ever take that job. They're like, man, look here, where's a damn office? Where's an air-conditioned office with some carpeting? So the only people who are willing to work until they die or are willing to risk death to double their income, literal, physical, not metaphorical, hyperbolic death. It's like, no, hey, dude, you could die today. The men are willing to do that. Men are willing to die for business. When you hear a female describe marriage as a business, man, you need to run. You getting played for a fool, because they're using masculine language, but females don't mean business the way that we do. Men are willing to die for their business. Women will never die. They would never even have a conversation with you to entertain dying for a business. She's like, screw you, I'll get a job at Taco Bell. Men die over business every week, if not every day. That's something women simply will not do. So when you just consider that one reality, oh, well, she's never going to work as hard as you, never going to risk as much as you, which is where wealth is made, and she's never going to apply herself as much because she's not willing to literally fall over dead. Men made the phrase, get rich or die trying. Women don't do that. Their idea of risking death is sleep with 10 dudes in a week. They're not talking about gunfire, flames, the feds. Women ain't trying to do that. So men are willing to die for business. Women won't. We build wealth. Women marry a man so they can actually get some access to it. If they had to actually build it on their own, yeah, it doesn't happen. Now you know the reason it doesn't happen.
At this stage of the life course, it's slow going to recover from divorce from a financial perspective.
It is. You're finding the same thing, Susan.
Absolutely. You know, for someone who's divorcing at 50, they have maybe 10, 15 years to start to recoup the financial, I'll call it losses, right? You know, the division of those assets. But for someone who's divorcing at, say, 65, they're there. They're in it. They're in that phase where the retirement funds, the planning they did financially to get them through their retirement years was whatever they had amassed for 2 people. And now they have to split that up and carry it forward for 2 people. And their runway to recoup is almost gone.
This episode of the Oprah Podcast is brought to you in part by
Booking.com, so you can get flued out with all the other half-century-old chicks out there.
Oh, please.
So just want y'all to know this is sponsored by Booking.com, so all these half-century-old females in the room, by the way, they can go ahead and get flued out for their last 15 years of hoeing and twerking, and they got 15 more years to go, so call Booking.com so you can get in.
It could be invisible to millions of travelers searching the platform. Don't miss out on consistent bookings and global reach. Head over to Booking.com and start your listing today. Get seen, get booked on Booking.com.
So I want to bring in a different Lori. There's 2 Susans and 2 Loris, okay, in our audience. Okay, Lori, who is experiencing this in real time.
I'm just going to say this real quick. Oprah Winfrey, for those of you who've seen her makeup routine, or what's his face, who does her makeup and stuff, I don't know if he's still there doing it, but yeah, they use like a paste. I mean, it's not even, Oprah Winfrey's skin tone is, for those of you who know, it's nothing like this right here. So they actually paint her face on and send her out there. And yeah, I just wanted to say that right there. It's like, yeah, this is not auntie, this is granty. Granny is here, and she wants to let you know, by the way, she's brought a couple of females here. I wonder if these females will tell you about their part in the divorce or not, or if they're going to put it all at the men's feet. I wonder what it'll be.
So what happened?
So I've been with my husband 34 years, married 28. A year and a half ago, basically said he didn't want to be married anymore. So this month was a year we've been separated, not legally divorced. So
now I want to say something here. She said that he told her he didn't want to be married anymore. I didn't hear her say he filed for divorce. I didn't hear that. So I just want y'all to keep that in mind. She says that, well, he came and told me he didn't want to be married anymore. Okay, but did you catch that, folks? See, this one, unfortunately, we have to play this game because everybody's a liar out there. And if you just, well, I didn't say that he filed. I said that he said he didn't want to be married. So, by the way, did you all catch that? She didn't say that he filed for divorce. She just said, well, he didn't want to be married anymore. Okay, let's see if they clarify that.
You know, he just went through something and wanted out.
He went through something.
His father died 3 years ago, and when his father died, his was very sudden. And he said, you know, I could be dead in 20 years too. So I need to live my life the way I want to live it.
Okay.
Folks, does that make any sense to you? Does that make any sense the way she just said that? Does that sound honest, or does it sound to you like it does to me, that there's a huge piece of something missing there? Hey, my father died. I could be gone in 20 years, so okay, where is he going that he thinks is a better place than the woman that he's been with for 34 years? When you lose your parents, I mean, the first thing you do is go for the person you with. If you're married, the first thing you do is go for the person you're married to comfort you. And what he's saying, she's telling us that when his father died, she was not the person he wanted to be with. So what is she not saying? What was she doing that made him say, man, look here, my father dying has made me realize I need to be somewhere else. My father dying has been the wake-up call. Yeah, I need to be somewhere. Life is short, and do I want to keep putting up with what I'm putting up with here with you? I think that's the missing piece, is that his father dying reminded him, you know, things ain't going to change over here. And do I really want my last memories to be with this person here who doesn't really take care of me? So, by the way, do y'all hear, I keep reminding you, do you hear all this stuff here that doesn't really make sense? The man is just malevolent. He just came home. Now, by the way, did you notice what she said at first? She didn't say his father died at first. At first, she didn't say that. I want to remind you all, this is the wickedness and the deceit of the Oprah Winfrey generation. She didn't say his father died at first. Remember, she just said that he came home and said he didn't want to be married anymore. That was what she said at first. Then she says, well, some things happen. You know, that's how it minimizes everything. First, he just came home and said he didn't want to be married. Well, he just came home. Well, some things were happening. Well, his father died, and he said, well, if I only got 20 more years, you know, I want to be happy with those. Okay, why is he not happy with you now? After 34 years, shouldn't you know him better than anybody else? And you ain't got no damn excuse after 34 years. You should know him better than any person on this planet still living. And what he's saying is, yeah, this person here does not know or does not care. Now, that's the part she didn't say. And if they had asked one more question, it most likely would have revealed that too. I just want to take a moment to articulate that for you all, to let you know how nakedly, obviously lying these situations are. And this is what Oprah is putting out here on the internet, just like she did on television. The only difference now is that we can question it.
All right. And that was a surprise to you.
Yeah, because, you know, when his father died, he started to, like, he was going through the grieving process, which I understood. And I let him go through it. And I thought, you know, he's going through it and he's going to come out of it. You know, I lost my father. I understand that.
So do you have a question for
yes,
any
I do.
of the Susans?
Did you hear that? Well, I mean, his dad was dying and his dad died. And, you know, I mean, I just felt like, you know, he's going through the grieving process. He'll come out of it. Do y'all notice what she's not saying? She didn't say, I comforted him. I was there for him. I stayed up at night with him, you know, while he's crying and reminiscing and questioning himself. You notice she didn't say that? All the, you know, the wifely duties that don't involve sex. Did you notice that she didn't say that? She's not saying anything that defends her. The things that I'm listening for is like, okay, his dad died. I mean, you're supposed to be, if she really wanted sympathy, she'd be telling us all about how she was a model citizen. She would be telling us about how she stood by her man and he done her wrong. But all she's talking about is, well, I mean, he was going through, first she let it drip, drip, drip out. And then, okay, well, his dad died. And, well, I mean, after the first year, ain't you over it yet? After the first 6 months, you ain't over it yet. I'm willing to wager that that's more what the conversation was like, or what he was getting from this. And it's been a few months here. You ain't over that yet. Because notice she points out the 3 years. He was mourning for 3 years, or he felt like he was alone for 3 years because he lost his folks. He could weather and bear being married to you if he had other people. Now he doesn't have them. It's like, oh, hell, it's just you and me? Oh, man, let me get up out of here. So you all ask yourselves whether or not what she's saying and all these gaps in it, whether that makes sense, or whether what I just said actually forms a whole that actually makes sense.
So actually for Lori, so when this happened to me, I only really talked about it with my really close friends and family, and I didn't really want to share it with a lot of people. But when people started to find out, and they would approach me, I was very like embarrassed by it and like shameful, and I felt like they were like jabbing me. So I don't know if that's like a normal feeling, because I still feel like that. It's a year later, and I still feel like if a friend says to me, oh, somebody approached me about you and, you know, your husband, and I'm like, my first thing is like, why are they asking? Like, I'm like embarrassed about it. And I don't know why, because I was an amazing wife, and I was, you know, I didn't do anything wrong. So why am I embarrassed?
Right. You know, it's so interesting because when you told this story to us right now, you told the story of strength. I was in this marriage. I was an amazing wife. I understood his grieving process. He was going through something. Mm-hmm. But somehow now you have this.
Did she say I was an amazing wife? That's what I was an amazing wife. How did you come to that conclusion? What did she do that was amazing? Amazing wife? I'd like to ask him, because, folks, men don't divorce amazing wives.
Nigga, please.
Men don't divorce an amazing wife. We know that can't be true. Men don't divorce amazing women. I guess I jig, but men don't divorce an amazing woman. Nobody leaves an amazing person. Wow, you're amazing. I'm filing divorce. So welcome back to the Oprah Winfrey ovarian cult where they sit in a circle and just recycle lies all the damn time. This is a damn therapist with degrees talking about amazing wife without that second. By the way, baby, the first thing you should just tell me, you couldn't have been an amazing wife because people don't leave amazing wives. So very obviously there's some parts of the story that are missing. You can go ahead and give us those details if you want to, but yeah, people don't leave amazing wives.
Story that when people ask you about it, that you feel like they're saying something was wrong with you or you did something wrong, but nobody's saying that. So you're creating the story that doesn't exist. I think when people come up to you, they're saying it because they care about you. They're saying,
okay, y'all hear the therapist? Nobody said you did anything wrong. Y'all, once again, do you see what's missing? The people who know her personally, they know her personality. They know what she's like. They know if her husband was complaining. So like I'm saying, do you see Oprah Winfrey? None of them are doing the due diligence that they would if it was a man. Now, if there was a man there talking about his wife, they would be grilling him and interrogating him and asking him. First thing they would say is, what did you do wrong? What did you do to her? Women are just wonderful and perfect. What did you do to make her divorce you? If it was a man up there, they'd be saying, what did you do that forced her to have to divorce you? Even though the majority of the divorces are filed by women. Well, it's your fault, so you need to come clean about what you did to her, so you don't keep doing it. Now that's what they would have said. Just wanted you all to hear that there. By the way, do you see how this is why women, when they go to female therapists, dude, you might as well go ahead and get them leave right then. I was the guy who sounded the alarm on this years and years ago. If your woman goes to go see a female therapist, forget about it. This is what seeing a female therapist is like. They both get together and ask about what can they do to outflank you and outmaneuver you. That you're the problem, and we need to get her straightened out on how she can manipulate or outmaneuver you. There's absolutely no discussion about what is obviously wrong with her. So if her friends are telling her, are you all right, you okay, and it sounds accusatory, and by the way, hit dogs hollering, yeah, that's because they know you. Like, yeah, we figured he was going to leave you at some point, so you all right now that you're going to run him off?
hey, I heard, and underneath that is maybe, how can I support you? Or you're going through this with such grace and resilience. They might not be saying those other words.
They may not be, and they may, Lori. No, honest to goodness, I'm thinking when you said that, that person is having some kind of judgment. Isn't that what you're feeling?
100%. I was at a funeral not too long ago, and a girl that I haven't seen in years came up to me, and she asked me about me and my daughter, but not my husband, so I knew she knew. Mm-hmm. And she went, this was exactly how she said it. She went, and how are you? And it was like pity on her face. And I was like, why are you pitying me? Because I'm now a single woman in my 50s. What's wrong with that?
Right. And so I think that that's a projection of how she feels, but it's not your lived experience. Your lived experience is, this is really painful. I'm going through my own grieving process. But you are still saying, I was an amazing wife. I did all these things right. So this is all about her. When people come up to you and they have that judgment or pity, that's their own projection of their own fears. Is divorce contagious? Is that going to happen to me? Right. So you have to separate out what this other person feels about herself and not let that be projected onto you.
Whereas you understand, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hear that. I do hear that. That if you're strong in yourself and you know what your reasons are and you know what has actually happened, that when other people's judgment, which they will, and she was judging you, I will say.
Absolutely.
People come up to you, that was not a very caring thing to say. Because that's happened to me too. Mm-hmm. I remember when I let go of the Oprah show by my own choice, and afterwards.
Okay. Lie. I let go of the Oprah show by my own choice. Oprah, nobody said you didn't, but everybody saw what happened in the ratings, baby. You went on TV crying one day, talking about, I know you're all watching Jerry Springer. Yeah, how many of y'all remember when she made that little quip one time on her show? I do. I know you're all watching Jerry Springer. Well, yeah, because Jerry had passed her and the ratings was kicking her ass. So, yeah, she's hoping that since she's been laying low for a decade, that nobody actually remembers how that all ended. She was getting beat by Judge Mathis and Jerry Springer. All that stuff was running out. Now she's decades later trying to rewrite history. I was left on my own, baby. You wasn't bringing no money in.
I was talking to somebody who was like, how are you? Like, are you really okay? And you can feel the judgment, Lori. You can feel it when it's there. But I think what you just advised her, you know what the real truth is, and so you understand that's her projection.
And the first thing a lot of people say to me is like, "Are you going to start dating again?" And I'm like, I don't need to have a man in my life. Like, I'm okay being single, at least for now. You know, like that's not my first thing.
Oh, please.
I wanted you all to listen to the program, and I'll walk through the first 14 minutes here so you all could come to this point, this culmination right here that she's, by the way, I don't need no man. And then she called herself, well, I mean, not right now. Folks, it's a cult. They are still repeating the mantra. It's a cult. And take a look at the audience here. Not nearly as large as it used to be. Oh, this is not nearly the volume of people that she used to have back in the day. But I just wanted you to see here that, by the way, oh yeah, this is still the slogan of the Sisterhood of Failure. She literally sat there and told you, and by the way, I don't know why they think I have to have a man to be all right, but I don't even want that. I mean, not right now. She caught herself. It's like, yeah, that's not very flattering, but she caught herself.
And he was like, how are you? Like, are you really okay? And you can feel the judgment, Lori. You can feel it when it's there. But I think what you just advised her, you know what the real truth is, and so you understand that's her projection.
And the first thing a lot of people say to me is like, are you going to start dating again? And I'm like, I don't need to have a man in my life. Like, I'm okay being single, at least for now. You know, like that's not my first thing. You know?
I think there's this misconception too about the single woman, that there's some pity for the single woman. But let me tell you, in my practice, when I see the men who get divorced, they are shocked because they don't realize how much invisible work happened behind the scenes that ran their lives. And so they all of a sudden realize it is really hard being alone, and they don't have as many close social ties because, you know, when you say, my partner is my best friend, well, for men, sometimes it truly is. They confide in you, they talk to you. Women have, maybe you thought your partner was your best friend, but you have 1, 2, 3 other best friends, right? So you are actually, women tend to be more prepared to be on their own than men do. So it's interesting that in our culture, we tend to.
Now, this part right here tore it for me. This was so despicable. This was so reprehensible what she just did. What she was saying was true, but how she was saying why it was, that's the part that's not true. Well, the men are shocked. Yeah, the men are shocked, and the men are not the women are more prepared. Well, yeah, the women are more prepared because the person who launches a preemptive strike, of course, is more prepared. You see, Oprah and the gals here are not going to tell the truth. When women want to file divorce or break up a relationship even, men, if we're not happy in a relationship, a heifer knows. We're not going to be smiling at her. If we're unhappy with the relationship, we straight up the middle with it. No woman ever saw a man in bed with another female and wondered why he was there. They always, 100% of the time, every female knows why her man was in bed with another chick. She's never taken off guard. She's never, I didn't see it coming. You know why he was there. Especially if he's married, because this is going to cost him. And if he's willing to roll the dice and take the hit in a situation where we know a legal system that is notoriously anti-male, you know what you did. He didn't end up with her for nothing. This has been festering for a while, and you just dismissed everything he said. He's just like, you know what? Let me see if another broad is open this weekend and going to dismiss it. But when females get ready to leave, They just like, okay, it's war. Ladies, I got to read the mail. I got to read the mail, ladies. When a female gets ready to leave, this is what men find out later after their first 2 or 3 breakups. She didn't break up with you that night. It's very rare that the night y'all broke up was that night. And she had been planning to leave you for a while. She had already made up her mind, usually 6 months to a year. That's the usual time frame. So if you really want to do a postmortem on your relationship, you got to go back 6 months or a year. Don't think about what happened last night. Think about what happened 6 months ago or a year ago. If there was an incident that happened in between there, she made up her mind to leave then. But she's decided, I'm not going to leave until I feathered my nest and made sure I have a soft place to land. So I have to keep smiling. I need to keep smiling, and I need to keep things stable until I'm comfortable to leave. I have already left the relationship emotionally. Then financially, they start pulling back on paying anything, if they were paying anything ever. And then the last final step is physically. The last step is physically. And she's telling you that y'all broke up on her way out the door. But in reality, 6 months, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, she had already decided, okay, I'm going to teach him a lesson. This relationship's over. I'm just staying to get what I can get out of it. Of course, the men are surprised and shocked and not prepared. She knew all of this. She knew what she was going to do 6 months or a year ago and never told him. So she wanted to make sure he wasn't prepared. What? Married men get caught off guard because the women want to make sure you're not prepared. This thing doesn't work if you are. If she gives you 6 months or a year of notice or lead time, you can start rearranging your finances, rearranging your savings, rearranging your property. You can start changing things. Let me go ahead and get rid of these credit cards over here. If she lets you know, then you can start getting prepared for the hit you're about to take. So she's like, oh, no. See, I need to grab as much of that money and status and everything as I can. So you can't be told. You can't be aware. You have to be unaware so that I can pull off this caper. So I can pull off this heist. So no, telling you is the last thing that we want. Letting you know what's about to hit you, that's the last thing we want. So for the female population in general, ladies, blanket statement, because you know it's true. Yeah, when the female gets ready to leave, she knew 6 months, a year ago. She's like, okay, let me find out where all the jewels are. Let me find out where the valuables are. Let me see everything I can take with me. And then she doesn't talk to you about it. She doesn't talk to your family now. She'll talk to her mom, and her mom will be like, I need you to everything in the first place. She'll talk to an attorney, a divorce attorney. You're the last. The man is always the last one to know, because this is a strike. It's a preemptive strike, and we got to hit him when he's not aware. Otherwise, he's going to start making changes and preparations, and you don't want him to do that because you're trying to nab as much as you can on your way out the door. The only time that doesn't happen is when he ain't got nothing. But then again, once again, it's the same situation. She made up her mind when she was tired of tolerating and ain't got nothing. And dude, she didn't make up her mind last night. She made up her mind 6 months ago, a year ago. So of course men are taken off guard. Of course they're surprised. Of course they're not prepared. And this woman knows that. She knows that. Now women sneak up on you with it. They never let you know that. The women are always ambushing you. When the process server shows up or whatever, the man is ambushed. When he gets served with the divorce papers, he's ambushed. It's like, wait a minute. Ain't no man gonna be sitting in the house with a female who's let him know divorce papers are on the way, bombs away. He's not sitting in the house with you. There's no man who is peacefully sleeping in the bed with a female who has let it be known that divorce papers are on the way and she is exploring her options and she's letting her fingers do the walking through the yellow pages to find the best divorce attorney she can. There's no man who's sitting there in bed sleeping next to you soundly and peacefully. Not if he has the slightest inkling that, oh, dude, she ain't talking anymore. She's going to move on this. She's getting ready to move on this. No one would do that. If you were a female, you would not be sitting there knowing that he's serious about this. That he's like, no, I really looked into it. Yeah, your days are numbered. You wouldn't be sitting there for 6 months like, oh, he don't really mean that. At the very least, you'd be talking to him every day. Hey, baby, is there something we can do about this? That would be the most of it. But the other thing, you wouldn't just be sitting there. It's like, oh, hell, he's going to move forward with this. I need to start making some adjustments. And that's the real reason that this occurs. And so after all these decades, they are still gleefully lying because it's what they do. They're just continuing to lie the whole damn time. Now they're going to introduce you to a new female. Her name is Gabriella. She's going to be the last one we're going to touch on here because I can play this whole thing. I'm not going to do that. But there's another female they're going to talk to you here in a moment. I want you to hear something that Oprah said. I warned you about it at the beginning. You're going to go ahead and hear it here in a moment.
To pity the single woman, and yet she's much more prepared to be on her own.
Yeah. I have a happy, supportive life with my friends and family, so I don't need to date anybody. But if I do, it's fine.
Okay, to the men, tats, brats, ats, pets, pills, plants, fellas, you do this message. You ignore these things I tell you at your own peril. I don't say it just because it sounds catchy or sounds like a slogan. These are real, literal data points I'm giving you. When you have a female who's got pets, that's the emotional support system. I've been telling you that for years. It sounds ridiculous to you because you're in denial. You don't want to believe that. Fellas, if you're with a female in her 20s and she owns a dog, nigga, that's her emotional fallback. If she brought the dog into the relationship, that's her real friend. That's the person, that's who she feels she can emotionally rely on. It's an emotional support pet. That's not a term that men made. That's one that women utilize. If a woman has pets when she meets you, that's her support system. If she's got girlfriends that she gossips with when she met you, that's her support system. She's always talking to her mama, that's her support system, dude. And all of them are like, it don't matter what happens to the man in the relationship. They're there to look after her. Or she has them there to look after her. So, yeah, she's never fully in the relationship. If you demand that a woman give up all those other things, like, hey, baby, I ain't got all that stuff. Yeah, the dog, the pets, the plants, your mammy and them. Yeah, no, they're hogging my space over here. So, no. If you got all these support pets and support parents and all this old mess, it's like, no. If I'm not the support system, yeah, I'm not going for it because you're not fully here. Any fellow who has ignored this found out the hard damn way. Your woman divorced you. She got the dog. She's like, yeah, I'm all right without you. The women will fight for the damn dogs in the divorce. Well, yeah, that's the support system. So let me get this straight. She let the car go and let the house go, but she's fighting for the dog. Dude, that's the reason you ain't got a wife no more. Fellas, you can ignore this at your own peril. This is females who have pets like that and she got a dog in her car. Dude, that's her emotional support. That dog will always come before you. When you talk about like it's a member of the family. No. It's that which emotionally cushions her so she doesn't have to fully be invested in you. She's fully invested in the dog, fully invested in her pills, fully invested in the kids if she got any. But all of those are what keep her from, she fools with you, but she doesn't have to go all the way with you. As long as she's got the dog, her and the dog will leave out tonight. And I can really depend on you, Benji. And take a look at their attitudes. So fellas, that support system thing, you ignore that at your own peril. If she came to you with a dog, with pets, hey dude, this is her emotional buffer that will prevent her or help prevent her from being fully emotionally invested in you. And that's all it is.
Not right now. Not right now.
Not right now.
Where's Gabriella? Go ahead.
So I was married for 19 years, together for 21. And about 14 months ago, my husband said that he wanted out. He wanted a divorce. And I was completely shocked. And
Because you thought the marriage was fine?
we had some issues, but I thought that we had been working on them. So we've been separated now for about 14 months. And there was trust broken in the marriage. And I feel like I have no choice now but to file for divorce. So I'm at the very, very, very beginning of that stage. We have two younger children that are our world. They're 8 and 14. And so we're all going through this horrible time.
Does it always have to be horrible?
It's such a good question, and the first one to ask, and it's some.
Now, did you hear that? She literally sat here and said, does divorce have to be horrible? Does it have to be horrible? The woman just told you it was terrible and horrible. And here comes Oprah Psycho Winfrey talking about, does it have to be horrible? Oprah's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. No, she didn't say. First of all, she said trust was broken. What the hell does that mean? Please remember, when females, ladies, I got to read the mail. When females get in a room full of other females, they depend on the sisterhood to have their back. The sisterhood is there to support them. So you see, the sisterhood serving its function is to support her. So if she uses these metaphorical statements, I need the men to understand, your red pillars don't explain this to you. Let the power dynamics explain it to you. Fellas, you're wrong either which way it goes.
Nigga, what?
You're wrong either which way it goes. If you cheat on her, you're in the wrong because you shouldn't have cheated on her. Why did you cheat on her? And if she cheats on you, you're in the wrong. Why did you drive her to cheat? If you're a man, that's the way it goes. You're wrong either which way it goes. At no point will they put accountability or responsibility on her. If things broke down, it's always your fault because you didn't do what was necessary to keep her happy and her, quote, fulfilled. Please remember, the self-fulfillment conversation is a one-way street. Women talk about self-fulfillment. They're talking about theirs, not yours. She doesn't see it as her obligation to make sure that you are fulfilled. It's your obligation to make sure that she is. Whatever her definition of fulfillment is. And as a man, if you don't satisfy it, well, you're the one responsible for whatever goes wrong. That's your fault. So when they know that when these situations right here make a vague statement that, casts aspersions on the man, don't give any clarification of it. What does trust broken mean? People, trust broken could mean he said that he was going to work fewer hours. Well, he told me that he would spend more time with me. Okay, heifer, that's before you went off and built a damn garage in the house edition. So please understand, trust was broken. That can mean anything. He said he's going to spend more time with the kids. He said we were going on vacation to Maui. So what does, quote, trust was broken mean? And even still, I need details. I'm not going to take your word for no. I need to know the details surrounding whatever occurred, because they're just going to give you enough tidbits to demonize the man, but they are not going to give you the whole story, and deliberately so. I'm going to go ahead and stop that here as far as going over the program, but now we're going to go ahead and take a look at something else here, because I want you to take a look on your screens. I want you to take a look on your screens right here. I want you to look on your screens, and I want you to understand something here. This is the final culmination of the putrid, disgusting, wretched life of Oprah Winfrey. Here you're looking at her and you're getting the final receipts and returns. The women who listened to her, your mama and your auntie and them, this is what they got left with. She returns to the internet to say, hey, ladies, how did it turn out here? And they're all coming back to her talking about, by the way, we're having more divorces than our daughters. Those of us who followed you most diligently and most loyally, Oprah, by the way, take a look at what happened to us. I have always warned you all now for well over a decade. I have warned you all about what would happen in the end to the women who listened to the old, failed females. Your grandmama who was always getting into it with people, your auntie, your mama who was always getting into it with folk, always talking down about men to you. They live the most slutty lives and we're talking down to men about you, talking down about men to you. And I warned you all that their goal was to make sure that you would be with them. They wanted you to hate men so that you would be spending your time with them so that when they got old, they wouldn't have to depend on a man anymore. No, they got their gal pals or their daughters. They've helped screw you up and skew you and make you jaded and cynical. And now you're disagreeable and no man wants to stick with you. So now your old mama and your old grandmama got company to see them through the end of their lives, which was the goal all along. If you have a good, functional, productive relationship with a man, you ain't gonna put your mammy first. If you have a good, productive relationship with a man, you're not gonna put your dog and your plants first. These old hoes walked you all off into that for the goal of screwing up what you got so that they would have a buddy to grow old with them. Yes, the Golden Girls. Only you're the golden daughter. Although that was on the show too, by the way, yeah. Sophia and her mom. So it became a real life Golden Girls. It's now, after all these decades, Oprah Winfrey off the air, we come back and do a reunion show here, and her audience is aging out. They can't have children anymore, and they filed for divorce, and guess what? They are now just as old and just as alone as Oprah is, only she's a celebrity, so they will all leave from where they live and come to, I guess, Chicago, wherever the hell she's filming this at, and come cosplay as if we got the band back together and the audience back together, because a bunch of these hoes are dead and can't even make it there anymore. And so, yeah, these old women's ultimate goal was to have you alone and unwanted by men so that you would end up keeping them company on the porch in their declining years. And take a look on your screens, people. Take a look at the survivors, the ones who are still alive. The ones who are still alive, by the way, take a look at how many of them still flock there, or at least still showing up for nothing more than to keep Oprah company. It's not like she's having a great program here or something is garbage, but they're there to keep her company. They are giving up from their time and their lives. They gave up husbands. They gave up children. They gave up lives of their own so they can sit there with Oprah and trade stories about their wasted years. And of course, fantasize that they're going to throw a Hail Mary and that you just divorced a man, but there's going to be another one right around the corner who's going to obviously have to take up where your last man left off. Why hasn't Oprah done a show about, all the unmarried old women? Why does she have a reunion of all them who are happy that they don't have a man? That they're not lamenting it? That they're not crying with their regrets? Why doesn't she have a reunion show so she can show us all the happy women who are like, you know what? I'm glad I ain't with man no more. Why does she have that one? And please understand here, the young women don't listen to her, so she's relegated to talking to a bunch of old women and a bunch of dehydrated ovaries. These chicks who she talked over the cliff back in the 80s, not off the cliff, over the cliff. And now they have nothing but horror stories from the decades of following her example and her advice. She promised them that you could leave a man whenever you wanted to and be completely and totally fulfilled. Everything's perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, you'll be happier afterward. Do these women look happy to you? You saw the faces I showed you. Do any of them look like old happy broads up in there? And I'm doing a nice program to show you all a retrospective that we finally, it's a shame that we have to live this long. It's a shame we got to live this long to go ahead and have this program. It's a shame. But we have to do this review because people decades ago would have said that we were wrong, didn't know what we were talking about. We were making it up. Well, folks, here we are. We're at the finish line now. We see how it ended. We see how the story concluded. And the women who listened to her for decades, do they seem happy? Are they happy? Testing their sexual options, slutting themselves around the world. I'm in control, don't no man run me. I'm going to have my perfect exploitation fantasy. He will take care of me. And if he's around too much, I have the freedom to punch his ticket. Do these women look happy? Do they look thrilled? Hell, does Oprah look happy and thrilled? She's sitting up here cosplaying that she's still a relevant talk show host, people. She's still doing it. That tells you how fulfilling life with Stedman is. She would rather sit there and work and talk to a bunch of old, washed up fans. We finally see how her show turned out after, and all the people who listened to her, how it finally washed out in the end after all these decades. She's talking to the females from her audience, the ones who are still alive, and they have nothing to report but desolation. And a room full of other females to cry on their shoulders and sob to and talk about, oh, well, I need my gals to come over here because we're basically starting our lesbian enclave. And that's what it became. It became that. And a bunch of lying. Now, folks, if you think that you're safe, I'm just here to remind you, man, ain't nowhere safe. Please understand, ain't no place safe. It really, really isn't. Because if you thought that this aged out Oprah audience thing simply ended at quote unquote gray divorce, you don't have the details yet. You're about to get them. Take a look here on your screen from Vice. People, let me introduce Oprah's brought on the woman who introduced gray divorce into the lexicon. Well, Vice is introducing another one here. Mendo divorce. What? Auntie, chill. Meno divorce. M-E-N-O divorce. That's right, folks. If you're coming up on menopause. Oh, gray divorce. You might not make it that far, folks, even if you dodge gray divorce. What about meno divorce? Once again, a female-driven phenomena. Hey, folks, another female-driven phenomena that men have no control over, but you will be subject to the consequences of. So, fellas, if you thought it was over with great divorce, oh, no, we came fully packed and loaded tonight. Oh, you ain't gonna get away. Not gonna make it. In honor of Menopause Awareness Month, where is Halle Berry dry and achy and uncomfortable? Many people, now do you see this garbage? In honor of Menopause Awareness Month, many people, don't you, okay, fellas, how many men you seen talking about, you know what, it's Menopause Awareness Month? To hell with the old media. Many people have been discussing a recent menopause hot topic, meno divorce. People, is there a hot topic in menopause? And by the way, pardon the expression, hot topic, menopause, hot topic. Okay. Meno divorce. Menodivorce is essentially a divorce that occurs during or as a result of a woman's menopause. Now, how is a woman going to menopause? Oh, I'm in menopause, time to divorce. How does that make sense, people? Many individuals enduring perimenopause or menopause experience such drastic changes that they begin to question their lives and oftentimes their most intimate relationships. Sometimes this leads to divorce or menodivorce. Folks, they have an excuse for everything. They have an excuse for everything. There's always a reason to upend men. There's an excuse for anything they want to do to you. They have an excuse that the society will condone. They'll just make some new stuff up, man. Women been having menstrual cycles since the beginning of females. And in 2025, they're telling you, by the way, here's a new excuse for why we can do it to you. Quote, as we mark Menopause Awareness Month, all right, it's an important reminder that seeking help, whether medical, emotional, or legal.
Nigga, what?
Seeking help, whether medical, emotional, or legal, can empower those in perimenopause or menopause to make choices that support their well-being and their future. Okay, but men, okay, I want y'all to understand, this is the garbage we got to put up with. Men can't go into menopause. Men can't go into menopause or perimenopause. So this is not advice to anyone. This is for women. This only applies to women. What is the legal help that will help you with menopause? Tell me the lawyer you're going to go to who's going to help fix your perimenopause and menopause issues. But I just want you to know that, by the way, that's what you're being offered. You're being offered that. This is the legacy of Oprah Winfrey. This is the legacy of Oprah Winfrey and all the women who listen to her. This is what they look forward to as far as they're concerned. Okay, mission accomplished. All is good. Mission accomplished and all is good. Now, terms that didn't even exist before. Terms that did not even exist before, but there you are. Need some more? I got more. Black Enterprise is here to help you out, folks. Black Enterprise magazine. Well, I warned you all almost 20 years ago to cancel your subscriptions. Cultural divide. Men cling to traditional gender roles as women resolutely push back. What? Now, I know you think that David Duke wrote this article, and he probably did, but by the way, Black Enterprise magazine wants to let you know that men cling to traditional gender roles as women resolutely push back. Okay, well, then by that token, you also think that men should disregard traditional gender roles too. Notice the conversation never turns to, and by the way, men need to stop that traditional gender role stuff too. Everything is about the woman has no responsibilities or accountability, and the men take on all responsibilities and all accountability. Now, you all can go look this article up if you want to. They even go into there talking about Charlie Kirk was influencing us.
Nigga, what?
They even go into talking about Charlie Kirk was influencing us. A fella that most of y'all didn't even know existed until he got himself killed. But yeah, this is Black Enterprise magazine. Well, folks, what is Oprah Winfrey's audience going to do? What are they going to do? As you all saw, there were some chicks out there in the audience who were flashing their wares. So clearly, some of them are thinking that they got some viability in the sexual marketplace, even over the age of 50. And then again, why wouldn't they? Because there is a pathetic contingent of sad sacks out there. I mean, you know who you are, fellas. There's a pathetic contingent out there that, man, I mean, they just got to get it how they live. Good, bad, ugly, or otherwise. And man, oh, I got a story we need to get into here tonight. I know it's Halloween. Gonna have some of y'all jumping out of your skins here in just a few moments, but I've got to do it to you. I can't even be nice about it. I gotta do it to you. Oh man, from Us Weekly. Meet the women launching OnlyFans later in life.
Damn!
You want to know what happened to the Oprah Winfrey generation? The Oprah Winfrey generation is out here competing with their daughters or their granddaughters. The Oprah Winfrey generation, they don't have a man, they don't have any support, and they don't have anything to offer except, I mean, if we dare call this sexuality. So yeah, we would like for you to meet the women launching OnlyFans later in life. Folks, if the men stop building, this is what it will be. The women are going to figure out, look, where can I go to hustle these draws? Somewhere. Minimal work, maximum reward. They're not going to stop it just because they don't have a husband or a man anymore. And by the way, they go appealing to men, either directly or indirectly. Women do not gain wealth on their own. They only gain wealth if there's a man to transfer it to them. If they have to make it on their own, the economic marketplace is not where they go. The sexual marketplace is the path of least resistance. And look how quickly and readily they are to go ahead and start auctioning it. And by the way, talk about showing the wares. Alrighty here. Perimenopause. Damn! Great jumping perimenopause by Ryan Hudgens. All right, Ryan. OnlyFans has been known to be lucrative for creators like Bonnie Blue and Annie Knight, and now others are partaking later in life. Quote, I never thought in a million years I would be in this position. One word, empowered.
Oh, please.
Victoria Winslow told Derbyshire Live in 2023, quote, I'll continue to make videos as long as I have an audience, even if I'm 90 and wrinkly. So they will still be expecting men to support them. She ain't doing it for women. Winslow, 57, said launching an account on the adult content platform has given her, quote, financial independence and helped her love her body. She was also inspired by her 24-year-old daughter who had an account herself.
Auntie, chill!
What? And suggested that Winslow join OnlyFans. So let me get this straight. You've been such a wonderful mom that your 24-year-old daughter is on OnlyFans, and the best suggestion that she could give her mama is, you know what? You should be on OnlyFans too. Why should we have to work? We're females. So yeah, folks, mom of the 20th century here. And by the way, mama's no good to a man. And what man is going to bet his legacy on her 24-year-old daughter when these are her daughter's principles, if I dare use that term? These are her daughter's principles and ethics. And yeah, her understand something here. How many of you could be 24 years old and be talking to your mama, talking about, you know what, mama, you should be on OnlyFans.
Nigga, what?
I want y'all to think about this for a few moments. When you were 24 years old, could you imagine sitting at the dinner table and your mama's talking about her bills and you talking about, well, you know, mama, you could get on OnlyFans. I want you to think about that for a few moments. Your mama goes on 60 years old. Well, you know, mama, I mean, OnlyFans let you make an account. Think about that for a few moments. 24 years old. And that's the conversation you're having with your mom, not somebody else's mom. Your mom, the woman who raised you, took you to kindergarten, elementary school. And this is the person you're going to have this conversation with. Your mom has financial issues, and you're like, Mom, let me talk to you about OnlyFans. Where the hell are we? Women are told that to be attractive, you have to be young and thin. You damn right. But I can tell you, this is certainly not the case, she said. Men love my... Y'all, what the hell is this? What in the hell is this? This has got to be the damn National Enquirer. This has got to be. There's no way in the hell this is a real story. This is some kind of crazy fan fiction. There's no way this is legit. None. There's not a way. Men love my wrinkles. Lie. My dimples. Now, folks, when she talks about dimples, she doesn't mean dimples on her cheeks. Those are not the dimples she's referring to. For those of you who might be confused. When she says dimples, she's referring to some other rather large and bulbous portions of her anatomy. But no, she doesn't mean her cheeks, fellas. So when she says dimples, I mean, it's really dimples from the neck down. And then is where she's actually referring to. My wrinkles, my dimples, my stretch marks. What? People, come on. We are steering perilously close to necrophilia here. What is there to love about stretch marks on a 57-year-old? What's there to love about stretch marks on a 57-year-old? I've had some strange requests, though, like to see you naked. That's an odd request. One fan asked me to step on bugs on camera. Baby, that should tell you everything you need to know about your sexuality. He would rather see your feet crushing bugs than see you naked. And there's so many people out there with foot fetishes, it's unbelievable. Because if they're looking at their feet, they don't have to see the rest of you. Scroll down to meet the women launching OnlyFans accounts later in life as we descend into the third level of hell. As we descend into the third level of Dante's Inferno. Feast your eyes, boys! Okay. This is not Victoria's Secret. This is Victor's Secret. Michelle Hardenbrook, who resides in California, explained that she began her account as a way to get more cash flow. Well, folks, all these strong, independent women who don't need no man and can work for themselves. And yet, OnlyFans has exploded because women ain't gonna do that kind of work. If she can make $1 in an hour with no labor, she's like, nah, I'm a princess. I shouldn't have to do that. Quote, if we don't do OnlyFans, we're living from one social security check to the next, she told Huck in 2024. Baby, what the hell did you do for the last 30 years of your working life? Bought handbags, bought shoes, slutted it up, sex in the city. They only talk, baby, she had the same damn 30 years of a working life that the rest of us had. She's had the same 30 years of labor and work and employment that all the rest of us had. What the hell did she do? She's in California. I'd like to know how the last 30 years since the gangster rap era went. What are you going to do if you have a health crisis, or if our house caught on fire, or all the plumbing broke because there was a big freeze? There's no money, no way to fix that. Folks, I mean, she's just like, okay, and this is Miss, all right, well, that's Petra Daniels. They didn't show this is Miss Hardenbrook. So this is Miss Hardenbrook, who's like, by the way, baby, you ain't one step to Social Security. You already there. So you are already there. She is already there. I'm not sure which one of these is Victoria, but anyway, this is Miss Hardenbrook. This is Miss Petra Daniels. This is Miss Petra Daniels. Man, look here. If you, ladies, something went real wrong in life. If this is the physique you bring to OnlyFans at this age, something went real wrong in life. Daniels, 68. Where's my Crypt Keeper sound effect?
Alrighty then.
Folks, I feel queasy just reading this. Daniels, 68, launched her site after suffering from an injury, probably carpal tunnel syndrome at your desk job. According to the tab, Daniels claimed that men don't, quote, look at me on dating platforms, but said she is called God's gift on OnlyFans by men she has intricate relationships with, because they damn sure won't be intimate. Folks, I mean, she said men don't even look at me on dating platforms. Okay, but there are some fellas suffering from mental and emotional illness and some incels who will go take a look at it elsewhere. So, and this is Victoria Winslow. Fellas, you know it's all wrong when you get the aerial shot, the aerial selfie. We all know what this means. The aerial selfie. Oh boy. We all know where this goes from here. Victoria Winslow, who started an account with her 24-year-old daughter, shared that she loves the invaluable monetary wins from OnlyFans. Quote, one day I admitted to my daughter that I was worrying about how to put enough money away for retirement, she told Derbyshire Live in 2023. She then told me about her OnlyFans account, which she had been doing for a couple of years. For a couple of years. So let me get this straight. Your daughter is 24 years old now. She told you, you're counting a story that from 2023. And your daughter had already been doing it for a couple of years. So her daughter was at least 20 years old, maybe 19. Fantastic mom here, by the way. No ghetto required. The ghetto is worldwide. I wonder if they would call this, the alt-right over there, is this ghetto enough for you? The mother-daughter duo have teamed up for content. Okay. Back up, Jason. She then told me about her OnlyFans account which she had been doing for a couple of years and had a decent income from. At first, I was a little concerned for her safety, but she kept encouraging me to give it a go, and soon I thought I might as well. Now I absolutely love it. The mother-daughter duo have teamed up for content for their fans. Men as young as 19 have subscribed, and I think being a hot grandma is a niche market that helps. She said, to be honest, it always surprises me that they want me hot grandma. Folks, Oprah told them they had sexual viability until death. Baby, this is not sexual viability. This is entertainment. This is entertainment. That's why it's called a fetish. You don't have sexual viability. That shit, your daughter might, not you. All right. Is this the daughter? Gina Stewart, whoever this is. I don't know how old Gina's supposed to be. But very clearly, she's paid for her surgery. Gina Stewart shared that she gets, quote, requests for customized content a lot of the time. She added, fans ask for happy birthday messages or wake-up calls, but the rate my... What? Yeah, the rate my genitals craze is just the funniest trend. Men can't wait to part with their money to be rated, she continued. These are fellas with emotional issues, and then they encourage women to take advantage of them. This is abuse, people. This is abuse. My OnlyFans would still be very lucrative with that feature alone. I have been paid to rate the most well-endowed to the smallest. What's her age? Looking like Brooke Hogan. What's her age? So, yeah, there's that. And just in case you all were wondering how the Oprah Winfrey generation is getting along, man, it's rough out here. It is rough out here. Now, Oprah is sitting out there, you know, with her dog. I mean, with a pack of dogs. Remember, she always keeps a pack of dogs. I don't know if they're still going on their orgy cruises. What? I'm sorry, Oprah. I'm not supposed to remind people about that. Okay. I'm not supposed to remind people about the orgy cruises, but how many of y'all remember those? So, yeah. And now she wants to come and talk to you about all the things you should be doing. And she's checking in with her audience, and yeah, it's real sad. It is real sad. They are aging out. They're elderly or about to become elderly. Ain't no money. They didn't put away anything. They didn't save nothing. They did exactly what Oprah told them. Girl, live it up. If you want to do it, you do it. Don't let anybody tell you what you can do or what you can't do. Okay, well, what if they're telling you that you can't waste your money or you'll suffer? Do you still not let anybody, quote, tell you what to do? Do you still do it then? If you're about to destroy your finances and your future, we still don't let nobody, quote, tell us what to do. We still don't. Is that still the game plan? That's still the format? Is don't nobody tell me what to do? I make my own money. What did they do with their money? What did they do with it? Did they use it wisely? What did they do with what they had? And I'm not just talking about the money, folks. I'm talking about the years. What did the Oprah Winfrey audience generation, what did they do with the years? That's what we're coming back now to do this post-mortem for. Is, by the way, we want to come back and check in on you all and see how great the second sexual revolution was going. And let us be very, very clear. Oprah Winfrey been out there slutting it up with the rest of them.
Nigga, what?
Oh, she doesn't want you to remember that. I mean, we're talking about a chick who slept with damn me Roger Ebert. What? For those of you too young to remember Siskel and Ebert, you can go to... She didn't even date the thin one. Now, remember, Oprah Winfrey, when she's been on the air for decades, talking about she has a very messy sexual history. Remember? I'm not setting her out. She was the one who put that out there. That, yeah, she got a very, very messy, very long, that she was very sexually promiscuous because when her show took off, she was worried that folks were going to out her. So she outed herself. And yeah, remember, y'all, how many of you remember that she said that on her show? She said it all the time, that she was a very sexually promiscuous teenager. Remember? Okay, what she doesn't tell you is young adult. She didn't stop because she wasn't a teenager anymore. So just be aware. She's letting you know that, yeah, she was out here in these streets too. And that didn't stop. That did not stop. She was out here in these streets and she encouraged her audience to follow her putrid, reprehensive lifestyle. And of course, the results were predictable. There's no way it can end well because it can't end well. It's nothing but a formula for discontent, disagreeableness. Oprah Winfrey had a grudge against men. She always has. And then she inculcated her audience to replicate the same grudge against men. The problem is that she had a multi-million-dollar television contract that would float her. Nobody was offering that to the women who listened to her. So they went home and had their narcissistic fantasy, and then they tried to live it. And now all she's got is a room full of aged out, post-wall females, and probably a bunch of, the only ones who are not post-wall are a bunch of interns, but they're not really options. Not really options. This is why it is necessary for our generation to have a retrospective on these things, to come back to it, to watch it, to see what happened, to go ahead and start talking amongst ourselves so that nobody can say that we didn't reflect on this. It's necessary to keep this at the forefront. Yeah, we're reflecting on this. Take a look at Oprah's audience today. They're old as hell. They don't have any options. The women who did listen to her are not coming back talking about how great it is. They're coming back talking about, man, this sucks. Okay, but she talked you into the damn pit with her, knowing full well that the only way this can end is you're going to be stuck in the ditch with her. She doesn't have the option of a man. She left that decades ago because she became really rich and famous, and the rich, famous men of the 80s couldn't see themselves with Oprah Winfrey because she wasn't fly enough. I'm not dissing nothing. The rich, successful men of the 1980s and 90s were not checking for a Oprah Winfrey. They can get them somebody, who's show-stopping fine. And she wasn't it. Oprah's the lawyer you hire. She's not the woman you marry. So she eventually made her peace with that, but she said, damn it, if I'm going to be alone, the rest of you hoes going to be alone down here with me. Y'all going to be alone down here with me, and that's exactly what she did. And that's what she set out to do. And she has continued it ever since. And I did this tonight so we can catch up, so we can see, by the way, how did it turn out for all of you chicks who listened to her? How it turned out? Congratulations, ladies. You didn't create any wealth, but you did create a new term in the American lexicon, gray divorce, which is really just talking about you, your favorite subject. It's just talking about your pathetic decline. This is not a room full of happy females. The men are where the action is, people. I need men to understand where your real value comes from. You are where the action is. You are where the decisiveness is. You are where the elevation is. You are where the upgrading is. You are where the new lands are and the new adventures are. That's you as a man. That's what you are. The women do not want to be the trailblazers. Trailblazers tend to get eaten by the local wildlife or shot at with arrows by the locals. Thank you, Bruce Williams. She wants a man who blazes trails. She does not want to be the trailblazer. She wants to be the woman that you take along on adventures. She does not want to be the adventurer fighting the lions and being Indiana Jones. And this desperate, pathetic, pitiful attempt to cast them is that met with inevitable, predictable failure. And now these women don't know what to do or what to say. So they've come back to Oprah for answers. Do you see how pathetic this is? I wanted you all to understand they came back to her for answers. Like the man who was condemned to death and his mother was there and he grabbed her and tried to kill her because she raised him. Like the man who said he had been to hell and they were looking for the They were down in hell looking for the preachers who told them that they were saved. These women have returned to Oprah, big old mama, hoping desperately that she can provide them with some answers because she gave them this advice. She told them what they needed to do. They followed her program. They followed her principles. And now, entering their last trimester of life, they're now back with her, hoping that she's got an answer. Because they followed her instructions to the letter and it crashed and burned. So now they're coming back for answers, and she's not even giving them answers. Hell, she's barely giving them comfort. Barely giving them comfort. This is a pathetic state to be in, that you gave up all your productive years so that you could be an Oprah flunky and used her as your role model. And now she's led you into the wilderness, but she will not lead you out of it because she's trapped in the wilderness her damn self. This is the woman's wasteland. She's trapped in the wasteland, and now all she's really focused her efforts on is getting as much company as she can. And you have hoes still sitting up here lining up to look up to her for what? She ain't got nothing. Oprah Winfrey doesn't have anybody to carry on her legacy. She doesn't have a man who's carrying on her legacy. She doesn't have anything. It's just her and a bunch of damn dogs. And now she's talked a bunch of stupid, silly hoes into being alone with nothing but a bunch of damn dogs. Please, if there's dudes in the audience, they're getting paid. Best believe that.
Alrighty then.
Hell, take a look at that still shot right there. The fella is looking down like he's on a cell phone or something. The men ain't paying no attention to this garbage. They're just paid extras. Please show me the heterosexual men who are like, damn, hope I can get a ticket to the Oprah Winfrey podcast. Show me the heterosexual males, fellas, because a lot of y'all are in that age group. Show me any heterosexual male who's like, man, you know what, they got Oprah Winfrey tickets to the podcast, to the Oprah Winfrey podcast? Damn, almost got me a ticket to the Oprah Winfrey podcast, boy. I'll show if I can be there. Show me the heterosexual males who that's what they trying to get in. Maybe if I move quicker next time. Yeah, these talk shows pay people to be on there. For those of you who don't know, that's the way it works. This is a surprise to some people. You can do that. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and open the Zoom link for you all. The link is pinned at the top of the chat room. You are more than welcome to go ahead and call us up. We're reviewing the final report card of Oprah Winfrey, how she ruined your moms. Well, now we've come back to check and see what was the ultimate result. Yeah, she ruined them. Many of us say they ruined themselves, but yeah. That's it. It turned out exactly the way you expected it would. Exactly like you thought it would. I want to send a shout out here to everybody who contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here, my man, Mogul Mays. Thank you very much for your support tonight, brother. We appreciate that. Fear to None, Arthur, J-Blow, Diesel, Crown Heights, Brainiac, Technical Brute, Young Investor, Real Brooks, and everybody else here who's contributed to tonight's program. We appreciate that. This is a very important thing that we do here. This is very important work to do, and the reason why it's important work to do is because we need to make sure these things don't get forgotten. If these things get forgotten, then these things get repeated. If these things get forgotten, these things will get repeated. That's the issue. That's the issue. So it is incumbent on us not to let people forget what Oprah Winfrey did. We need to remind everybody what she did. We need to remind the people that she is the cause of this, because if you're allowed to forget it, then she will come back and resurrect herself. She'll come back and resurrect herself like she's trying to do on YouTube. She can't do it on TV. They'll come back and try to resurrect themselves, and then they'll start telling some truths. They'll mix a little sprinkling of truth in there to try to throw you off the trail, and then they're going to pivot right back and sell the same sewage that they were selling before. So it's essential that we keep this at the forefront of people's minds. By the way, if you ever come across somebody named Oprah Winfrey, she is the mother of the gender war. She made a multi-million-dollar career out of attacking men, specifically black men. She did it every day. She did it all the time. She was a sick, perverted individual, which is why Roger Michael King signed her. And so just to let you know, I don't know where you're going to go out here in this world, but if you ever come across somebody named Oprah Winfrey, let me tell you about her, so that she will not mislead the grandchildren the way that she did the children. Let's go ahead and jump on Zoom here right quick. Let's see if we can get Mike up here on Zoom real quick. Mike, if you're running around or something like that, you need to be on Zoom. By the way, folks, if you're on Zoom there, please make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on, just so we don't have any trolling issues. YouTube is not going to see you. The only person who will see you is me, but make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on. We'll go ahead and give Mike 5 seconds here to go ahead and take care of that here. Then we're going to have to move on, folks, here. This is newfangled technology. All right, there you go. All right, Mike, what's on your mind?
All right, brother. Man, listen, man, I got a couple problems, man. I got a couple things on my chest I gotta get off, bro. All right, man, just listening to your show, man. It was like, or listening to the broadcast, excuse me. Man, women are not honorable when it comes to this shit like commitment, man. And, I mean, I've heard people say this before. I'm pretty sure you said it before, but probably the first person I heard say it was Patrice O'Neal way back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago. But I mean, he was like, women are not honorable, but that's the problem, because it's like men actually commit. You know what I'm trying to say? Because I'm talking about some of the first stuff you were talking about with, like men actually join and get into a situation for real. So like our best friend, the woman, the damn psychologist woman or whoever they had on the show was like, the man's best friend is our wife. Well, yeah, technically that's how it's supposed to be. In fairness, that's biblical. But honestly, women, since the beginning of time, they're not looking for that. Men are always kind of like, hey, like, I got my family, I care about my family, but hey, man, this is my wife, this is my priority, this is my family. Man, women, they're not like that. You know what I'm trying to say? But to an extent, I understand why women are kind of like that. I'm not saying I'm okay with it, but I get it, because men tend to be more honorable in dealings and straightforward, because we're straightforward people. 1 + 1 = 2. We go to the gym, we lift weights and stuff like that. But women, they can't really operate in that same space, because if they can't go toe to toe with you as a man, so they kind of have to find ways to be deceptive to get around doing stuff so that
Mike, but here's the issue. Your grandfather did not have the same complaints you do. All right. They had some of the same complaints, but not this complaint. They didn't have, you don't see a bunch of books talking about, damn, these hoes are run through and not honorable. That was not the conversation in your grandfather's day. It was far easier to find wife material, because there were more females who were actually wife material and interested in it. But they understood that you have to earn being a wife, because it costs a man. Your father made that clear. Your mama made that clear. It costs a man to take our little dumbass daughter home. So she better be worth the trouble. Otherwise, no man is going to stick around. He's not going to take a burden that doesn't have a reward and a payoff. So she better be good at the reward and payoff because you're going to be a burden. Mm-hmm. Now, that was a conversation that simply that wasn't a problem. Now it is. Well, what happened? Well, you get to about the 1960s when everything came off the damn rails. Post-World War II generation. And what happened was, quite frankly, over the course of the next 5 decades, the women were spoiled absolutely reekingly rotten. They're spoiled rotten. You see, as after World War II, men were making more money, you had the middle class, and then everything became about sexual access. And, okay, if you're a guy who lacks a personality, what do you leverage? Resources. So then everything became happy wife, happy life. Give women whatever they want to, and that'll get them draws. And that became the culture of the males. The disco era, the 80s, cocaine, living it up. That became their priority. And we know this is true when you take a look at how all the sexual related problems of society and maladies of society exploded in the 60s. STDs, bastard kids, paternity fraud, all of that just goes up like a nuclear bomb. So that was their priority. Right there. Right there. So what happens is when people are doing bad behavior and then you reward them for it, what do you think's going to happen after that? So we spent the better part of the last 5 decades rewarding every deviancy, perversion, and bad behavior you can imagine. Every single one. We made it popular across the board. It's been subsidized by the government, promoted by the media, defended in academia. Female hedonism and perversion is the culture. Now, what they were hoping for is that these were started by a bunch of women who were not desired by men. Gloria Steinem, Oprah Winfrey, Bell Hooks, Alice Walker. These were women who were not desired by the men. They didn't have the options in men that they felt they should have. And so as a result, they became anti-male psychos. Mm-hmm. That became the way they started dealing with it. Well, fine. If men don't want me, I'll declare war on your asses. You take a look at Tarana Burke, Exhibit A. If they're not desired by the men, then they declare war on them. Fine. If you don't want me, it's war. And I will do everything to turn society against you, and I will criminalize your existence. You don't ever see females who are 10s who are just, viciously upset with men. They do everything they can to be in men's good graces. Mm-hmm. Chicks with a face like a bulldog and a body like a buffalo, they can't stand a man. Their legislation, they're marching in the streets. 30-something years ago, Halle Berry got along with men just fine. Menopause kicks in. Damn these men. Damn child support. It's not accidental. It's not in your head. So women have been honorable, but as men, the males of the previous generations spoiled them rotten because they were only interested in sexual access. They weren't investing in anything. And so the females are spoiled rotten as a result. Now they think they should just have everything that they want, and that male's role in their life is to be anything and everything that they want. Meanwhile, she doesn't have to be your everything. Let me say that again. The goal of females today is that if you're a man, you're supposed to be everything she wants and everything she could desire. But at the same time, she is not expected to be your everything. Okay. You're expected to be hers. You got to be hers. So you get a bunch of obligations, but she doesn't have any obligations at all except to make sure that you're complying with what she wants. That's what we're dealing with today. And you recognize that behavior in children. You spoil your children rotten. What do? That kind of behavior. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And I don't do anything. And this is where you are today.
Okay. So listening to you, I think I think a fair thing that fellas need to understand, because I think when you do run into honorable people, I'm not saying that the world is full of honorable people, right? Not even men, but when you do run into an honorable person, it's more likely, in my honest opinion, to be a man. Again, this is not me being sexist or anything. It's just me from my experience. But like, I just think that, I don't know, fellas need to start understanding, those of us that are out here trying to be righteous, you know what I'm trying to say? Fellas need to start understanding, man, that we don't owe these women anything. And when I say these women, I specifically mean these women that we are kind of stuck with today. They all broke. Yes, men allowed it. I'm not going to disagree. The men should have been more disciplined at the time, but feminism allowed the social contract that we had to be broken. So
okay, but let us know. Okay, but no, I gotta stop you there.
Okay, fair.
Remember, the men got slothful and slack on the throne and lazy, and allowed that obvious social revolution and insurrection to foment.
Okay, all right, fair. I'm not gonna hold you.
So now I want you to learn about this, though.
You're right.
I want you to learn. See, folks, when you talk about something like Woodstock, the men back then were promoting feminism.
What? Truth.
Because remember, one of the parts of feminism was burn your bras. And that was one of the pillars of it. Going into the Woodstock era, one of their tenets was for the females, burn your bras. Bruh, for some college age males, hell yeah, free the nipple. Damn that's right. Down with the patriarchy, down with them draws. Free the nipple. I mean, if you're a college age male and she's like, I don't buy into patriarchy. I don't see why I have to wear a bra, and why can't I just have sex with as many men as I want to? Yeah, chickie baby. Yeah, damn right. That's right. Freedom. Damn right. Come on, man. So the male, I'm not making this up. I mean, y'all go back and take a look at bra burning for those of you who are millennials. They were burning. That was a major cultural milestone, was birth control, abortion, burning your bras, and promiscuous sex. When they said sexual freedom, they meant hoeing it up. Everything. Mm-hmm. So burning your bras, walking around topless, there's a reason you had all those males show up for Woodstock. Because that was what was on the menu. They didn't show up for Woodstock for the music. They showed up for the Woodstock because the females are going to be showing out. And they did. That was new. That had not been seen before. That was new. And those sexually repressed males, slothful and lazy, were just determined, okay, well, let's do that. With no regard for what was motivating the females to do it. They didn't give a damn why she was dropping the drawers, just so long as she dropped them. Mm-hmm. They didn't question it at all until the day she turned on him. Then he has a problem with feminism. He loved feminism when she was throwing her bra off and sleeping with half the frat house. But now he wants to make a wife, and it's like, oh, you're the patriarchy. All that other stuff was her freeing her inner woman. But I can't be a good wife to you. That's dominance. Marriage is domination.
Absolutely.
And so now you understand. Well, feminism did that, yeah, but bruh, the fellas were holding the door open and cheering for it.
I do agree. It's not like I know portions of that history. I'm not saying I'm not saying that I'm giving men a pass. I'm not saying that at all. I agree with what you're saying, but I guess at the same time, what I'm also saying is that given that that's true, there are a generation of us that we just don't give a damn about thinking about life or like relationships like that. We're out here, we're trying to have a legacy. We're out here, we're trying to like make it. We're out here, we're trying to have some type of semblance of something that even looks somewhat traditional. So if we got to burn what the hell the past generations did, the hell with it. The fact of the matter is okay, however it works out, the social contract, whether weak men and feminists work together or whatever, fine. It's cool. I agree with that. The contract is broken. But the fact that I think fellas need to understand, though, still, we don't owe the fellas out there that we're trying to do this thing the right way. We don't owe women anything, especially if we're talking about like biblically, because a lot of our people, a lot of our people will come at us like in, like spiritually, like, well, you're supposed to be doing this and you're supposed to be doing that. And you even echoed this a second ago, just before I got on the line, on what you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do this in the man. Well, no, well, listen, chick, in order to be a biblical wife, you were supposed to come to me unused by way of your father, who guaranteed the entire thing, and thereby I would provide my resources, because he guaranteed that you came to me unused and unsullied. So that guaranteed you the position of the wife. Most of these women today, they don't want to hear this, but the fact of the matter is, and it's just true, biblically, you don't qualify to be anything more than a concubine.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I need you all to make some adjustments. Oh yeah, here it comes.
Join me, and I will complete your training.
It's time to update your files, fellas. You all have never heard this before tonight. Once again, here we go. You never heard it anywhere else, and you'll start hearing it from other people here before, because you see, if you don't have a unified ideology, you can't say it. The red pill can't give it to you. The manosphere doesn't have it. Even the ones who are trying to pretend now they're not part of it. Please, your ideology was faulty, and now you just need to accept it is. You can write all the books and courses you want to. A faulty, flawed, incomplete ideology that's flawed and failed. You can't go any further with it. This talk about traditional marriage and traditional relationships. I want to say something you all have never heard here before tonight. I'm just going to tell you outright. That's obsolete.
What? Damn!
I don't understand.
I need you all to understand something here. You feel betrayed, but what I'm saying here is that no. Hold on a minute. Traditional marriage, traditional gender roles. What exactly does that even mean? Do you all even know what you mean when you say those things? What does that even mean? Times have changed. But the hallmark of an organism that cannot survive is one that cannot adapt and change when the environment has changed. The environment has changed. And yet the men are demanding to turn the clock backwards. I would like to say something else that you all will not like very much here, but you haven't given it very much introspection. Have you ever considered that it was your traditional gender roles and traditional culture that got you into this mess to begin with?
What? Nigga, what?
Nigga, what?
Nigga, what?
All right, elaborate.
Oh, you all never actually stopped to consider that this was actually the inevitable result of that so-called traditional culture. Okay. Please understand something here. What is it that actually makes a man valuable to a woman? Men chase resources, women chase resourceful men. Somewhere along the line, we started changing what that meant. And so the traditional here was something you saw on television, Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best. Without any regard to, by the way, does that actually relate to real life? Well, I want the woman to be, cooking and cleaning and staying at home and domestic. Most men can't even define what they mean by traditional. They don't even know what that means. They can't even say what it means or what their expectations would be. It just means whatever he wants it to be at the time he wants it to be it.
That's fair.
Now, that's what they don't want to say is that, by the way, if I asked you to tell me what exactly it is, what you would really break down to is, whatever I want it to be, whenever I want it to be it. Well, if I'm paying for the bills and stuff like that, it should be whatever I want it to be, whenever I want it to be it. And then next thing you know, you can't even really define what traditional is. Traditional just means old. Without really saying, by the way, what comes along with that? What are the requisites that make that? Well, she's not a biblical wife. What's a biblical wife?
Well, in my frame, I know what a biblical wife is.
Why don't you give us 4 things that define a, quote, biblical wife?
Okay, so 1, a biblical wife runs the household. If you look at, for example, like Sarah, she runs the household. She has control over all the other maids and maidens and stuff like that inside the house. So she's definitely supposed to be a manager of your house. Second, she is supposed to be the one who's cooking the food and stuff that you bring home. That is something that you can point to in the Bible, that it's not, hey, this is something that women have traditionally, according to biblical scripture, have done. It's not that men don't do it. It's that it's generally what women do. 3, they've been supportive. So, like, for example, if you take the story of Tobit, I know a lot of people haven't read that book because it's in the apocryphal books, but if you take the story of Tobit, he went blind, and his wife actually helped support him while he was blind until he got back on top. So that would be your third one. I would say that a fourth one would be probably the most important one. You're loyal to your man, which is something that honestly is just, that's supposed to be a virtue. That's supposed to be a given, but that's not even a given. But, I would say that that's 4, but, like, you should at least give me those 4.
All right, folks. Now, he named his 4 things. She runs the household, cooks, supports him when he's weak, and is endlessly loyal to him. Now, those are the 4 things he named as his approximation of what would qualify for him as a, quote, biblical wife.
There's more, but you asked for 4.
All right. Well, I mean, those are the 4 top things you named. So those are the first things that came to you.
Sir.
So those are your priorities. Those are your priorities. All right.
Fair enough.
Let's take a look at that first one right there. She runs the household, dude. Don't no woman run your house.
Deal with it, nigga.
When you say that, what do you mean?
Oh, man. Y'all, he's like, well, when you say that, what do you mean? Fellas, don't no woman run your house.
Okay. Maybe we have a misunderstanding.
No, we do not. We do not. You just have not thought this through. Okay, let's get something. Let's get something clear here. Don't do the sassy. Don't do the sassy thing. You don't overtalk. You don't overtalk the host. Don't do the sassy thing.
Supposed to be calling shots. That's
Dude,
not what I'm saying.
Don't do the sassy thing. You don't overtalk the host. You don't overtalk the host, bro.
All right.
Okay. I need some fellows with some fathers in their lives. You don't do that.
All right.
You don't do that.
Brother. All right, go ahead.
First of all, young man, because I could go to a different level with it. I'm being polite to you right now.
Okay, good. All right, man.
I'm being polite right now, bro.
I'm listening.
I'm not gonna pull your card, but I'm like, yeah, you need to tuck that attitude.
All right, I'm listening.
You're saying silly things, and I'm correcting you. And my mama said you don't. Okay.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
You do not let a female run your house. You don't even say the words about a woman runs your house. You said that. I'm repeating your words. I can repeat them because I was typing while you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm repeating your words. You didn't think any of this through. That's that traditional stuff you were talking about. And I'm like, yeah, you are articulating it. You just didn't think any of this through. Yeah, and this ends you up where you are today. You just don't understand how it sits up here and backfires on you, which is why you're being educated about it now. So look at your attitude about it. Well, the woman's supposed to run the house. Really? Interesting. Yeah. I thought that's you doing what? Well, she runs the house. Okay, if she runs your house, then at what point does she think it's not your house anymore? Mm-hmm. If you ran your boss's job, how long would it be before you're like, well, damn, this ain't really his job, no more, it's mine. Mm-hmm. If I'm running his business, well, this isn't really his business anymore, it's mine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the inevitable, natural, evolutionary conclusion of that mindset you got. Well, if she's running the house, well, it's her house. After all, it wouldn't be nothing without me. Okay, you're going to listen, is what you're going to do. I'm going to go through all 4 of the points you made so we can get this straightened out for the audience's sake. You're just going to sit back and soak up the game, is what you're going to do.
All right, brother.
So a female, well, she's got other females around. Well, actually, they don't. So that analogy that you gave doesn't even work there. She can manage things. Well, yes, I suppose that could be. However, then the next step is, by the way, what is she doing in your absence? Well, if you're going to have a television in the home, well, you're going to end up right back where you were before. I've already explained that at the beginning of the program. If we have a television in the home, the commercials that she watches are going to be constantly attempting to influence her to influence the finances. So they think they found a double agent in the home in their regard. So are we going to get rid of the TV? Television is traditional. How'd that work out? Not going to have it. Let's see how that goes. So a female is supposed to be there to execute the game plan. You're supposed to have a very solid game plan from you. Her job is to execute that. With the children, her job is that she's supposed to be your wife because she has demonstrated that she's best to be able to raise somebody else to replicate your legacy and to carry that on. That's what qualifies her to be a wife. That right there. However, you name some other things. He also named cooking. Well, that's a relative thing, but I mean, if she's eating, she has to. So, all right, fine. But I got a problem with this cooks thing. I got a problem with men listing that. Y'all need to update your files. Well, Jason, what's wrong with listing it? Because cooking is like sex. That's supposed to be a given. That's really supposed, I mean, it's like saying the female walking in the house. You're supposed to have legs. She's supposed to be cooking. That's supposed to be a given. So when we have to make that a bullet point, that right there, I got an issue with that just right there. That has to be articulated as a bullet point. I'm like, that's supposed to be a given. Why is that not considered to be just a given that we have to make a bullet point? So if a man's saying, yeah, I need a meal, it's like, okay, well, either the women they've been dealing with are just completely devoid of ability, although team reflects leadership. I need men to keep that in mind too. But yeah, if she's a grown woman and she's lived this long, that should be a given. Support him when he's weak. Now, this actually goes together with your last one, to be loyal to your man. Those two are actually synonymous in the sense in which you're describing them. Those are actually synonymous. Well, there's an issue with that too. Support him when he's weak. And then you gave a story about somebody who's down and out, and we've seen the story of Job and things like that. Okay, perfectly fine there, except one question. If this were your daughter, how long should she stand by a weak man? I'm asking you a question. If this were your daughter, how long would you expect her to, quote, stand by a man who's weak?
It would depend on how long he had enough money.
Okay, how long is too long?
Hold on.
How long is too long? I mean, how long is too long?
Again, that's kind of like that's not really a straightforward answer. We would have to take a look at the situation.
Nigga, what?
Wait a second. Wait, but before you eat me alive, let me finish my point. Depends on how much he has. If he has a considerable amount of money in the bank, but he is not he is not able to work for an extended period of time, that may depend on how much money he has. I don't know how long that is. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, so in other words, what you're saying is you can't actually answer a question that requires a concrete metric. You just want your daughter to stay there.
Did he do something to betray her?
Okay, that's a false requisite right there. The question was, how long does she stand by a weak man? That was the question you were asked.
Okay, if you're demanding a year time,
I didn't say year. I didn't say year time. I'm saying how long is too long to stand by a man's weak?
7 years. Stay by the man for 7 years.
Okay. Can I ask a question? Why is that metric 7 years?
Because I think it's a nice, good year. A lot of stuff can happen within 7 years.
Okay, so that metric is not actually tied to any real world performance or calculation. It's just a number you feel.
You didn't allow me.
I just asked you why you said 7 years. I just asked you that. You don't think things through.
You didn't allow me to tie it to a real world metric because I
asked you why you said 7 years, and you said it sounds like a good number to me. That's what you just said.
It is what I just said, but when I tried to turn it into a real world metric by saying how much money does he have in the bank?
I asked you why you said 7 years. I asked you that already, and you said why. You said it's a nice round number.
I would assume that a man would have enough runway to be kind of secure for around 7 years. That's kind of how I'm hoping I'm gonna.
Okay, if a man gets knocked on his ass out here and he's down and out, how long should it take for him to get back on his feet?
Again, that depends. The example that I named, the guy was blind. So who knows? his sight was eventually restored to him.
Okay, well that's an extreme example. So the overwhelming majority of the population doesn't have to deal with that kind of handicap.
Absolutely.
So for the average male, I'm talking about, you said support him when he's weak. Okay, how long should she sit there and wait for the average male?
Okay, so now if it's some random financial thing, I would say probably 2 to 3 years. But if it's some life altering, remember, if you're gonna hold me to what I said. The example that I gave was the guy was blind. So that's a life-changing, life-altering situation. But if you're going to say if it's a financial situation, you really should be able to get back on your feet within, I want to say, 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that if this were your daughter, you would tell her to stay with her man for 2 or 3 years.
I would say they're married.
Okay, that's a yes or no. That's a yes or no. That's a yes or no. I'm repeating your words. That's all I'm doing. That's not trick language. I'm literally just repeating what you just said, and now he's trying to scramble around it. Dude, so you would tell your daughter to stand by her man for 2 or 3 years.
I mean, you should be able to get your shit back together in around 2 or 3 years. So I'm going to say yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You should. A man should be on his purpose. A man shouldn't be down that long.
Right. However, I also want to just clarify there that he said your daughter should hang out for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I think that's a fair amount of time.
How long does it take to get a job? Yikes.
Yeah, it can. He
vary. Said that she should hang out with him long enough to get a bachelor's degree.
What? Yeah. If you're married, yeah.
Okay.
And for all those fellas out there that think, well, she shouldn't have to wait after that. She shouldn't do that for that long. Just put yourself in the situation if you're down and not financially, and your chick wants to you married. Wants to bounce after what, 1 year?
Okay, well, no. Here's the issue. The issue here is that, by the way, you're asking a woman to be loyal to a man who is weak.
It happens, Jason.
Okay, well, yeah.
You don't, like, in real life situations don't happen, though, brother. I mean, that's a real question.
Okay, let's look at this from a different perspective here. If your daughter was not married to him, would you still tell her to stick by him?
Oh no, if they're not married, no.
Oh, so if they were dating, you would not encourage your daughter to develop. Okay, stop, listen, just stop and listen. You're trying to respond to half a sentence. So if your daughter were dating him, you would not encourage her to stay there and develop those skill sets, because supporting a man when he's weak, well, how can she do it for a husband if she's never done it for anyone? By osmosis? So if she's never practiced standing by a man and being loyal to him, what makes you think a ring on her finger is automatically, like Captain Power is going to automatically Shazam, she's going to become this loyal, supportive female who knows how to stand by a man when he's weak and has the emotional temperament to do so. Okay. If she can't do it for her boyfriend, how is she going to do it for a husband?
Okay, fair enough. Now, so since you've now listed boyfriend versus husband, we're talking about realistically, you want to try to throw, because now what you're doing is,
I asked a question. Can we just address the question I asked?
Because now I want to say, now you're conflating being a wife to a husband, and then having a boyfriend, which is a modern construction. So you're trying to tell me that modern construction is, yeah, it is. The boyfriend, the whole idea of a boyfriend doesn't even exist biblically. You had concubines, you had wives, and you had hoes in the Bible. You didn't really have boyfriends in the Bible.
Okay, so what you're telling us is that you're telling me that I cannot show you an example of a man who spent time with a woman before marrying her, is what you're saying.
In the Bible.
Okay, you're telling me that I can't show you an example.
In the Bible.
So there's no examples in the Bible of a man who was spending time with a female before marrying her.
You can find them, but that.
Okay. So there were men in the Bible who spent time with women. Okay, sir, we're not going to talk over the host. So yes, so that's been disproven and debunked. There are men in the Bible who spent time with females that they were not married to.
I just gave you the three designations. It was wife, concubine, or hoe. So you can find examples, but they fall into one of those categories. Do you see what I'm trying
Okay,
to
sir,
say?
there were a number of men in the Bible who spent time with females that they were not married to.
Yeah, again.
Okay, so when you say that, that's just a
into
lot. He's
category of
regurgitating this really religious. They have a lot of religious slogans that folks pass around online. These evangelicals. So boyfriend is and girlfriend is a modern day construct. This is nonsense and garbage. And when you show them proof that that's not real, religion is fine, but the problem is religious zealotry. And when you become a religious zealot, then you just say things, and then when it's disproven, you don't stop the thing that's wrong. You just say, no, it's not wrong. It's really right, but it's totally wrong. But it's really right, but it's wrong. I'm not a zealot,
brother. I'm just telling you the three designations. Yes,
okay, sir. The folks in the chat room be here all night. We can go from David to Samson to whoever you want to name, bro. We can keep going. Okay, whoa. Oh, excuse me. I just named names. I didn't sit up here and leave that vague. I just named names, and you can go look them up. You can't argue with that.
Yeah, I can't argue.
You can't argue. Those were not concubines. Those were not concubines.
Samson dealt with hoes. That's a thing that's known about
okay,
Samson.
Sir.
He dealt with hoes.
That relationship was not a concubine hoe relationship.
Yeah, it was a hoe relationship. I gave you the three designations.
Okay,
hoe,
sir.
Concubine.
Okay, sir. I don't know how you call her a hoe. That was his girlfriend.
No, you're trying to.
Okay, I'm only gonna entertain this for half a second. Tell me why Delilah was not a girlfriend. Tell me why.
Because she's a hoe. If you're not married to a woman and you're just fucking and doing all this other stuff, that's just a hoe. That's just somebody that.
Okay, so what you're saying is so you're telling all of us there's no such thing as a girlfriend boyfriend. If she's a girlfriend, no, you just a hoe.
Yeah, you just biblically. Again,
okay. I didn't say biblically, sir. I didn't say biblically, sir. I'm asking you. No, I didn't say biblically. I said you. I said you, sir. I didn't say biblically. I said you.
For me, for me, like in real life, what would I consider it? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, that's the only thing you asked the whole time. I'm talking about the Bible.
So
you're the one saying it's a hoe. First of all, the Bible doesn't say any of this stuff. What you're saying, the Bible doesn't say any of this.
That's not true.
Where does the Bible say that females are? Where does the Bible say that this kind of female is a hoe? Tell me where the Bible says that this kind of female is a hoe and this one over here is a harlot whore. Where's the Bible? Where does the Bible make that distinction?
I can tell you exactly right now. If a girl goes out and has sex.
Okay, so I said the Bible. I said the Bible. No. Just quote me the verse. Quote me the verse.
I'm trying to
Sir, your question. All I want to hear from you is the verse. Quote me the chapter and the verse. I don't want your explanation. Quote me the chapter and the verse, or you're lying.
If you're gonna expect me to pull the
quote the chapter, or you said the Bible says it. Sir, you said the Bible says it. Either quote the chapter and verse, or you're lying.
Since you're going to make me do that. Let me go ahead and go to Bible Hub real fast and get the exact quote for you.
Wow, so now he's saying he needs to look it up.
So I'm supposed to remember the entire Bible from off?
No, you're the one saying that that's your basis, and I'm saying you're making it up. You're just lying. You're making it up. You're lying.
Hold on.
You're lying.
No. I got it right here for you. Hang on.
Chapter and verse, please.
Hang on, give me a second.
Okay, that internet connection is Starbucks. You got to get closer to the building.
No, not Starbucks. Hang on, give me a second.
Okay, then you got to get closer to the building if you're going to steal their Wi-Fi.
Hold on. Deuteronomy 22:21. The phrase, she played the whore in her father's house, is from the Bible, specifically the Old Testament book of Deuteronomy 22:21. Hang on, if you want me to read the whole thing. They shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she hath wrought folly in Israel to play the whore in her father's house. So he shall put away evil from among you. You were a virgin until you got out of your father's house. If you were the type of woman who was in your father's house, like what we call dating someone or having a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
That is not describing dating or a boyfriend.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That is describing, that is at best describing sexual promiscuity. That's not describing having a boyfriend.
Sexual promiscuity. sweetie, that is literally what happened to a girl.
Then why doesn't it say that she was stoned because she was known by a man who was not her husband, which is what it would say?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
That's literally not what it says.
Tell you, you're not listening to me.
That's literally not what it says.
There's no girlfriend in the Bible. You are either playing a whore.
Okay, brother, here's the issue. Here's the issue. And I say this with all due respect. When males become powerless, they resort to religion.
No,
and then they start becoming really religious, and then they start yelling about their religion. They become very, very religiously. They think that the Bible is going to give them an authority that they don't. Okay, sir, let me go ahead and mute you because you're very emotional right now, and that's not a good sign. When males are weak, what they do is they resort to some sort of authority that they're trying to appeal to compensate for the authority they don't actually have. They usually go about this in two different ways. They resort to the Bible because they think that quoting the Bible is going to give them authority over women. Well, you see, if he's failed to be able to demonstrate that competence or establish those resources and competence in himself, then he's just going to start saying, well, the Bible says you should stick by me because I is man. And so then they become real religious zealots about cherry picking things, taking them completely out of context and making things up as they go along because they're trying to do something else. So those of you who are familiar with the Old Testament, you know full well the Bible usually tells you about she was known by man. If it meant that, that's what it would have said. Well, that's not good enough because there's another point he's trying to make and something else he's trying to accomplish. Something that can't be accomplished through the straight, direct path I'm giving. So your daughter isn't going to be able to develop those wife skills independently by herself on her own. The other thing is, by the way, unless you get her out of the house when she's a teenager, I'm not talking about 19, 20. Well, I mean, if she spends 10 years out here, what is she supposed to be doing? How long does that take? If dad's going to find somebody, this guy's not qualified to do that. So you don't just shove your daughter off somewhere. Those things don't work. And by the way, we've already shown them examples of men who were dealing with females and whatnot. And no, those are not the hoes. If you're the girlfriend, you're a hoe. I'm like, do you realize how far you have to stretch to do that? So if you do something like that, you've got some other agenda. That's not logic based. That's trying to compensate for something else based. However, it still doesn't change the fact that, by the way, if your daughter's never stood by a man, how is she going to stand by one? She's never had to do it before. So how does she deal with that other than to sit there? Okay, here's the problem. Just like in the Bible, a female who has to spend an extended period of time around a man who is failing as a man, she's not going to respect him. And if she can't respect him, she can't stay loyal to him either. Although maybe you could sit up here and try to bully her into doing that. But now you're telling your female to just stand by men because they're men, regardless of their level of performance. It doesn't matter if they're failing as a man. Stand by him anyway because, well, you're supposed to do that. And I'm just saying, fellas who've had to deal with being in compromised situations, then they start looking for how do we get the females to do this just because, as opposed to she's doing this and understands why she's doing this. And that doesn't mean the men don't have down periods. I have. Most men have. That's understandable. When your daughter's dating somebody, what you would tell her when they were dating is, you know what, fella, you need to come back and talk about dating my daughter when you get your act together. Right now, you're in a bad situation. Things ain't looking too good. I don't know how you handle this or if you can, but you and me can talk about my daughter after you've resolved this. After you got your act together and you're back on your feet, then you can come talking about my daughter. Yeah. System of white supremacy. I got it. But you haven't demonstrated you on your feet yet, so I can't let my daughter be with somebody and they're not on their feet because I'm not sure about your stewardship here. You have to prove that to me. So we'll keep an eye on it. That would be the only thing you could do. But as far as like, hey, you mean your daughter be dating here? Maybe we should get married. You're not even on your feet yet. What is she marrying? Now, when you translate that over to marriage, notice now we're saying something different. Well, it's the husband here. We can give him 3 or 4 years. Understand, he didn't really mean 2 or 3. He meant 3 or 4. But he said what he meant the first time, 7 years. What he really means is as long as it takes. he's just got an open-ended check because she's supposed to be loyal. But the question becomes, loyal to what? And I understand things happen, things change. I certainly hope that that becomes the case. I'm not going to sit here and start fighting and arguing with logic and reason. So when a man becomes a charity case, please understand, folks, a man can get old and become a charity case. Can you be a 25-year-old charity case? Can you be a 30-year-old charity case? There's where you have an issue. We're having this conversation about the 25-year-old, 30-year-old charity case. That's where we start having, that's where you start realizing that your religious ideology has kind of slammed into a wall. But then again, that's not a religious ideology there either. This is really about, well, this is what the females are supposed to do. Nowhere in there is he discussing the rudiments of it. Fellas, a female's not going to be loyal to you. She's loyal to power. She's loyal to a man who has an effect on the world. She's loyal to what she can see and hear and touch and feel. That's what she's loyal to. She's loyal to your level of performance. She saw you do XYZ. That's what she's loyal to. That she chose a man who gets results. That's what she's loyal to. When she talks about her father and loyalty to him, she doesn't talk about when my father sat around and watched TV. She talks about what her father did. She talks about that. So you cannot have a coherent conversation if the first thing you do is attempt to avoid the power dynamic and you do not want to discuss a man is defined by what he does. Yeah, we are. Yeah, hurting your feelings. Oh, well. Ache, ache. Halle Berry. Men, our value is defined by what we do, fellas. Oh, Jason, I don't know about Lexi. That then, fella, won't get scared. Don't be saying that right there. I don't want to be held to that. Okay, but when you walk through your front door and anybody wants to challenge your authority, what's the rock you gonna stand on? You're gonna stand on, I'm the man of this house because of what I do. I have earned it. That's the difference. When a man starts talking about what qualifies him for manhood, he starts running down the resume, his accomplishments. He doesn't sit there and tell you, well, I got testosterone and male genitalia. So that's the foundation right there. You would not listen to another man tell you the foundation of his masculinity is, well, I got testosterone, I got man body parts. He wants respect. It's all about what you do and what you've done, not who you are, how you were born. Now, that's the reality of it. You might have been a fine man. If you have a catastrophic illness, I'm very sorry to hear that. You're not going to be a father to your kids. That's just the truth. If you've been in a coma for 20 years, you were not a father to your children. That doesn't mean you were a bad person. It doesn't mean you meant to do it. But the reality is you are not going to be a father to your kids. You are not here. If they get in trouble this evening and need help getting down from a tree, you will not be there. Forget paying bills. You will not be there for basics. Now that's reality. And your judge, they're not going to remember. You know, I remember getting stuck up in the tree and Dad would have been there. That's not what they're going to be thinking. So these are coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms do not help where you are, but furthermore, it doesn't correct what you all see out here. Traditional marriage and all this traditionality stuff. And what I'm saying is all he can do is bring it back to religion. He can't even separate it from that to say, by the way, different people have different interpretations of the Bible. Do you have a justification for your, quote, traditional definition that isn't biblically based? Because people, even religious people, have different interpretations of the Bible and they have differences in agreement about it. So you can't really rely on that for your basis of, quote, traditional. Do you have something that we all can commonly reference? They don't have that. So that's why I tell you all, by the way, your definition is traditional. You're going to have to re-examine that. It doesn't quite mean what you think it means anymore. I would go so far as to say it is obsolete. It's obsolete because really following this map, and you just heard him, following that map gets you here. You're not basing yourself on what you do. You're not really clear on what the female's incentive is. Nowhere did he say what the incentive is. It just, well, she just needs to do it because she's supposed to do it. And that's not the way that works. I'm going to get something for nothing. That's going to correct things. No. Women were never getting something for nothing. They were getting something for something else. But they were never getting something for nothing. They were getting value for value. And they weren't just doing it because daddy wagged his finger and said, you need to do this. There was something that he expected from the man who would be taking you from him. He expected something from that fella. And what he expected was not religiosity or ideology. He expected performance and results. Just as he had performed and gotten results. It's very, very scary when men try to get around that. Mike, let's see if we can go ahead and get you to unmute here. I'll let you go ahead and have the last word. If your Wi-Fi is still working there, you might want to go inside and order a coffee latte. Okay, I'm not sure what Mike is doing. He might want to drive around to McDonald's, see if he can hook up on that Wi-Fi over there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
all right, Mike,
brother,
we'll let you have the last word.
All right, so listen, man, I respect you, brother. I don't want you to get it twisted that I don't respect you and I don't agree with you on a lot of points. I actually agree with you on quite a bit of points. However, you asked me specifically to list a verse. So I listed the verse. That's the only reason that I brought up specifically quoting a verse, because I was just going to kind of tell you kind of what it said. So that's let's just get that there. You know, you asked me to quote a verse. I looked up the verse that I knew that I would bring so that I could say it exactly. That's why I listed the verse. It's not necessarily that I was relying on it, but I was only trying to do that to prove my point of, hey, there's not really a girlfriend designation in the Bible. You were either being groomed to be a wife, you fell on hard times and you were a concubine, or you were a wife. There wasn't really a whole lot of other situations. If you were doing something outside of that, the only thing I was trying to say is, hey man, that you kind of fall in the realm of being a hoe. That's all I was saying. Now, to your other point,
a hoe is something you do. It's not something that you are.
I thought you were going to let me speak.
A hoe is something you do, not something you are.
Oh, all right. Okay, all right, cool. But okay, so the other thing I wanted to get across, the executing the game plan is managing. Well, yeah. When I don't think that you allowed me to say what I wanted to say. I said, yeah, she should run your house. That doesn't mean I don't come up with the plan first. I never said that. No one's trying to like move any goalposts or anything like that. But I just think that you inferred what I was trying to say without giving me a chance to clarify. If you're telling me to make some broad statements really quickly, give me 4 examples, I'm going to give them to you. Then if you say, hey, elaborate on that, what do you mean? Then I would elaborate. So that's that. I'll leave that where that's at. Now, you were also saying, hey, it's supposed to be a given that specific things with a woman. Well, yeah, they should be a given. Cooking should be a given. Being loyal should be a given. We have to list them now as bullet points because women don't do those things nowadays. That's why I listed them. And I think that I even said,
yeah, that's my point. Loyalty should not be a given.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Loyal. There's your messed up right there. Your pet definition of quote traditional values. There's an issue there. In the words of Varys from Game of Thrones, incompetence should not be rewarded with blind loyalty. And if your leader is failing, are we still loyal to him if he's failing? Mm-hmm. So I'm showing you a real world example, not based in a personal religious ideology, but based in math and logic and real world actual activity. Loyalty shouldn't be a given. Loyalty should be earned.
Absolutely. I don't disagree. But I just got 2 things here. Let me ask you a question. You have a daughter. That man has been a solid dude for her for, I don't know, 20 years or so. He falls on, and remember the example that I gave was the man went blind. That was the example I gave. So if you want to use my words against me, use those. The example that I gave was that the man went blind. So if the dude has been a solid dude for 20 years, but then he went blind, so like he's in a bad spot, she should bail on him, like, quickly? I mean, that's a question for you.
Okay, I haven't met too many young men who went blind, to be totally honest with you, so that's not really something I've seen. I will sit up here and tell you those are more like outliers. I'm not going to lie about that. That is certainly going to impact things. If that was your daughter, it's certainly going to impact it. I mean, let's be adults here. That's going to impact that.
Yeah,
it is.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being like honest about that and be, you know, like, and not like.
If it was your daughter, it would impact it for you too.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it would, bro. Like, cause I would be like, well, shit, the dude can't see. I know he's been a solid dude for you for 20 years. He can't see, so I don't know, man. I don't know what we're gonna do.
I'm not. I didn't say she should cut out on him. What I am saying is that's gonna have an impact.
Yeah,
that absolutely will, because he may be blind. Okay, the rent's due on the first.
Yeah,
regardless of his vision, the rent's due on the first. So that is something that definitely has to be kept in mind. And certainly, where marriage is concerned, you make vows and things, and certainly, I would not want to be with a female who does not stand by her word. Absolutely. All that have been stated, that is definitely going to make a difference.
All right, I respect your answer on that. And the only thing I just have one last thing. I never said a man shouldn't list his accomplishments. I do believe that a man should list his accomplishments. I believe that that's like the defining. That's what you have nowadays. That's your like defense. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't disagree with you. I agree with you mostly on everything. You know what I mean? But it's like, you gotta understand, man. I'm not the guy who's going to disagree with you on that. Like whenever I'm.
Well, I mean, in the interest of moving along here, because I don't want to take up too much more time. I don't really mean that the man has to name those things like literally, because by definition, if you have to tell people you're the king, you're not the king. If you have to tell them that you're boss, you're not really the boss. However, it should be self-evident. That's really. I'm just saying that it's something that should speak for itself. If anybody questions your authority, that should really speak for itself. You know, so, and if it doesn't, we got a bigger issue going on. However, here's the thing. We don't do ourselves any favors by dealing with outliers, because exceptions to the rule don't help the masses. The rule is, if a fella's down and out, if a fella's going through a tough time, well, that's understandable. Are there circumstances that can contribute to it? Absolutely. But what I'm also saying here is that as a man, weakness is not something your woman can respect.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So the real thing is, he better be working as hard to rectify that as he was. A man should be working harder on the bottom than he was on the top.
I agree. I don't disagree with any of that.
So a woman's going to be loyal to results. You all are trying to figure out how to get her to be loyal to you, absent anything else. And by definition,
I didn't say absent anything else, though.
Okay,
I never said that.
If you don't have results, are the everything else.
Well, but I just said I agree that you should list your results. You should say your results, or as you're saying, your results should speak for themselves. I do believe a man should stand on his results.
Okay, so you have to have them. And so just telling her to stand by when you're weak, please understand you are on a clock. That's what you need to understand. If you are in a weak, compromised position as a man, please understand, for a female, all she sees is she's defenseless.
Yeah, I agree.
So any man who is in a weak, compromised position, no matter how he got there, that's the first reason why a man's supposed to avoid those situations. But for your woman, a woman cannot. Women don't support men the same way we support them.
That was the basis of my argument. When they're not loyal, they're not honorable, like in the same way. Like that was kind of the basis of my entire thing. I don't disagree with you. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I think we just got tangled up on maybe one or two issues. But
no, your definition of that traditional thing is what everybody is. It's open ended. It's idealistic.
Well,
your definition is idealistic.
Fair, but then people say that the Bible is idealistic anyway.
Okay, but here's the problem. Okay, but the problem is we don't. The problem is we don't live in an ideal world. So you cannot impose a personal idealism on a physical, non-ideal world.
Well, but that's not entirely true though, because people do that all the time with advertising and in any other kind of form of propaganda.
Okay, nobody tells. Who is telling us that we need to reorganize our society to live by advertising?
Well, but we do though.
Okay, stop.
Propaganda.
Who is it? Tell me the McDonald's commercial that says that we need to reorganize our society to live by. I'm loving it. We don't live by. Nobody argues that you need to reorganize your family and your life to live by advertising or propaganda. The stuff you've been saying, we need to reorganize our behavior to adhere to that.
Well, that's because it's smart.
Those are ideals, but you can't live by ideals. It is good to have them. It is good to have principles. Absolutely. When you attempt to say, now let us impose those ideals and imprint them on the real world, this is going to be problematic.
I agree.
Because you know what? Do not sin is a wonderful ideal. It's also impossible.
Okay, I don't disagree with that, but propagandists are just more smooth with the messages and with the ideals that they want to get across. Those are ideals too.
Okay, but nobody's demanding you live. Nobody's standing in front of a congregation saying you need to live by a commercial. Nobody's saying that.
Yeah, they are. They're standing in front of the biggest congregation, social media, in the television.
All right, thank you for giving us a call here tonight. Folks, you can't just say silly things. It's nobody is standing in front of any congregation anywhere talking about McDonald's. So he's on his way to becoming a street preacher at this point. And this is why it is very, very important for us to have males who got some empowerment, because when you start doing that stuff right there and arguing with a stop sign and I just said something, I don't mean like that. And you repeated it 3 or 4 times. No, not really like that. So it's just, fellas, there's why you have to have empowerment within yourself. You have to be empowered of yourself. You got to be able to start there, because when you start leaning on the Bible or any religious ideology or any ideology, period, when you start relying on that, then you start telling yourself there are some intangible benefits. And here's the problem. You ain't going to be fooling with your chick very long if all the benefits that you get from her are intangibles. You're not really going to be standing there very long if all the benefits you get from her are intangibles. Fellas, that traditional marriage, traditional gender role stuff, this is not your father's world. You cannot make the same assumptions your daddy and your granddaddy did. You can't assume the same things that they did. You're in a different environment. Right or wrong, you're in a different environment. What makes you valuable will not be the same as what made them valuable. Even if everybody around you is delusional. Let's just say that they are. The bottom line is, it's not that world anymore. What makes you valuable today is not what made him valuable then. It isn't. Even if the people around you are completely delusional. You're going to have to live with it. Well, they shouldn't be. That's an ideal. What's the physical reality? What's the physical reality? No, in the chat room there, Dollar Will, no. The only reason why he was saying that is because it's supposed to put you in a conundrum. And the conundrum is supposed to be the only females who can expect anything are the women who are wives. Okay, but by definition, you have to be chosen by the men to be a wife. So it's supposed to put the women in a compromised position. And y'all need to just get with the program. Otherwise, you don't really have anything to say if you're not married. And what I'm saying is, no, that's an ideal that you have, but that's not actually a real world thing. So then you is hoes and you don't qualify. Should nobody get no girlfriend because you's a hoe. All girlfriends are hoes. According to the Bible does not say that. You do. Here's the issue here in the chat room. CT, you said in order to lead a woman with the Bible, she has to submit to the Bible and you. Here's the problem. Who is the authority on that Bible she has? The Bible is open to interpretation. There are some folks here who are, you can argue with a lamppost if you want to. The Bible is open to interpretation. You and somebody else will read the same verse and it means two separate things to two different people. That was the same thing in the days of the Bible itself. Remember Peter and Paul? It's open to interpretation. So who is it that she relies on to interpret it for her? Who is that? There's the issue. This ideal that you've got some divine right to it or whatever, it's okay, man. You can rely on that if you want to. That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. Okay, let me see here. See if I can get back on Zoom here right quick. Let me see if we can do that. It's late on Friday night, so they may be. I wonder how many folks are there. All right, let me see if we can get Jordan up here right quick. Let's see if we can get Jordan up here. I'm looking for him. There you go. All right, Jordan, what's on your mind?
Hey, so I was talking to my mom's friend. She calls him her friend. That's what I'll call him. What? Anyway, so he gave me a ride somewhere because he's having car issues and took me to pick my car up. And he told me we had passed this hospital that is being built near my parents' addition, my mom's addition now. And he's like, Jordan, you just need to stay focused. And it came out of nowhere. And he's like, because I'm in nursing school right now and I've got 11 more months.
Yes, you
and
do.
He's like, I'm sorry?
Yes, you need to stay focused.
Yeah, he's like, you need to stay focused. He's like, don't go out. He said, don't be going out. Don't be trying to talk to girls. He's like, you need to go to the hospital, go to school, go to the gym, and go home.
There you go.
And when he said that, I was all ears. I'm like, elaborate. I want to hear more about this. And
I've been telling you this for years, nigga. But anyway, you need to elaborate. I've been saying to you for years. I mean, he's telling you everything I said. That is it. Yes. Go to work, go to the gym, get your ass home, go to sleep and go home, rinse, repeat. Simple as that. Simple as that.
And I've gotten myself like, I have no desire to do anything but that now. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. It's like a weird feeling, actually.
It's called being disciplined and locked in. That's what it is. If a man's attention is split, just understand, the more you chase women, the more you want to chase them. There's the issue. When your day becomes focused and absorbed on skirt chasing, the more you do something, the more you want to do it. Let me tell y'all something, brother. There's a reason why females can't get us off of paper chasing once it gets going. When the man money start coming in, yeah, he's at work. You know what? Because this is what, it's like this man matters more than sex. When a man doesn't have money, what does he do? He has all the sex he can. When a man is building and producing, you ain't seen that nigga for 2-3 years. Yes, because he's showing you that there are things that overcome. You think it's a biological urge. Your primary biological urge is purpose. Yes. Purpose runs everything. So when you've actually found your purpose, you've got something you're good at, you're starting to get the hang of it, that's the most engaging thing you can do. So if you start skirt chasing, the more you skirt chase, the more you want to skirt chase. The more you learn, the more you want to learn. The more you build, the more you want to build. You will be what you commit yourself to. And as young men, you don't understand how it could work that way at first. Once you all get in the groove of it, you be like, oh, that's how it happens. Because when you're in your early 20s, you can't imagine there's anything better than sex. It's just like, oh, these old niggas is crazy. It's better than sex? What the hell? When you start building something and see that you started from nothing and now there's something built there, it's like, oh no, this is what I want to give my life to. Now, that doesn't mean you don't want to have sex. I mean, like Jack Nicholson in The Departed. It doesn't mean I don't want it. But that's not going to consume you. This over here is going to consume you. And you'll spend days or weeks at that. Study, facing the books. Yeah, because you're building something. And now you can see it's coming into form.
100%. Like, I was listening to one of your broadcasts on Patreon, and you said it was about the electrician guy. He said he hadn't passed yet. And you like he hadn't studied enough. And that I was listening to that between my breaks of studying. It was like midnight. And I'm like, bro, I can't go anymore. I cannot go anymore. I need to go to bed. I heard that. And then I prayed. And then I put in like 2 more hours. And then I got like an A on my exam. And then like the next day I was at the hospital. I was only supposed to be taking care of 1 patient, but I ended up taking care of 4. And my classmate, as I'm leaving out of one of the patient's rooms, the patient cuts, Jordan, come back, please. I need your help. Right in front of my classmate and my teacher. And I told him about the experience. I could see the side eye from my classmate, but my teacher was happy for me. And I'm just like, yeah, this feels so, this was like the best feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. Like, I thought I would be happy getting like a baddie or whatever at one point. And now I'm like, bro, this is way more fulfilling. And I feel like I even went harder in my studies. Like, I put in more hours, and I'm just asking.
You know the only thing for a man that's better than getting a baddie?
Tell me, please.
The moment that you wake up and realize you are the baddie.
Yeah, deal with it, nigga.
Yeah, the moment you realize I don't have to chase him. I am the baddie. I am the baddest. I am the bag. When you start doing that, you see how females do that. You want to know why females are so vain and self-absorbed? What we told them from the time they were born? You is pretty and smart and wonderful and gorgeous. And men would be lucky to be with you. We don't tell males that. You have to earn that. But by the way, you'll know you've become a man when you stop chasing baddies and realize when I build myself up, I'm building a baddie. And that's going to be me. And that takes you with everything. That you take that everywhere you go. That actually adds value to you because the chick can get up and leave.
Correct.
So there's the problem with chasing baddies is, women come and women go. But if you are the baddest, dude, you keep that for life. That should tell you right there what you should be investing in.
Definitely. Yeah, that was a great broadcast that you did. It really kept me pushing, and then just wanted to say thank you for kind of getting on my behind and getting me into this. I think you remember when I was kind of debating on whether to do it or not. I'm really happy I did, and really finding my purpose here, and I'm just really grateful. I just want to say thanks. I will check back in, I think the end of the semester. We got finals coming up, so December 18th or something like that. So I'll let you know how I do.
One step at a time. Like I say, I don't know where your mom found her friend, cough, cough. But like I say, I mean, I can't disagree with anything I heard. I can't disagree with a word of it. It's exactly what I've been telling you.
My dad, he knew him. And when my dad was dying, my dad's like, hey, get with him. And they like arranged the whole thing. So. Well,
the dude sounds solid so far. I hope it lasts. But he's not misleading you. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, he's just telling him, look, dude, put all them chicks to the side, all that playing with, invest in yourself, lock in for 5 or 6 years, and that's going to carry you for the rest of your life. And he's right. All right, let's go ahead and jump back over here again. Let me see if I can get Cassandra. Oh, man, it's been a minute since I had Cassandra. Hopefully she's not in the ER tonight when she calls me. I'm hoping she's actually somewhere sensible when she calls up. So if she is, that'll work for me. All right, Cassandra, I'm looking at a ceiling right now. Where you at, baby? Y'all, I think Cassandra just left her phone sitting on the coffee table. It is just looking up into the ether. Oh no, she's hovering over it. I saw you there, Cassandra. She's trying to figure out this newfangled technology. Baby, you was killing us tonight. Come on, Cassandra, you've called me on Zoom before. What are we doing?
Can you hear me?
Okay, if you treated the men better, you wouldn't have to have turn your camera on, Cassandra. Let's not have any nonsense.
How do I do this?
Baby, let's not do that. Come on now.
Hello?
All right.
Yes, I have a question.
Where are you, Cassandra? I don't see you.
Can you hear me?
Last time, Cassandra, point the phone at yourself, ma'am.
Hello.
What was that?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Cassandra, pick up your phone.
Yes. I'm not on my phone. I'm on my tablet.
Okay, pick up your tablet, ma'am.
Pick it up. What does that mean?
Pick it up and point it at your beautiful self.
Ha!
Just to make sure we don't have any nonsense. Same rule for everybody. You know the rules. All right, Cassandra, you got 5 seconds. Cassandra has 3 seconds. Cassandra has 1 second. All right, Cassandra is off for the weekend. Folks, it's the same rule for everybody. We don't discriminate here. Same rule for everyone. Jason, I've been talking to you for years. That's right, which means you already know what to do. Same rule for everybody. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can get Ambrosia up here. There you go. All right, Ambrosia. All right, well, I'm not going to tell y'all what I'm seeing right now, but she is trying to get chose up on. So on a Friday night, what'd she say? She got trick or treats. What?
Treats.
All right, what's on your mind, Ambrosia?
So I checked out Oprah's podcast. I listened to that podcast, and I noticed that it was extremely one-sided and unbalanced. It was always the perspective from the woman, and it was always the women speaking as they are victims. And I noticed that it was all about, their conversation centered about, this isn't what I thought marriage would be. This isn't what this wasn't my ideal about my bank account, my house, my kids. It was always about I was a good wife. I never saw it coming. And I noticed there were never any real follow-up questions. Nobody even asked these women, were your husbands happy? Because from what I understand and know about marriage, men don't leave amazing wives. Men don't get up and just decide that out of the blue, out of 30 years of marriage, that 20 some odd years, that they just no longer don't want to be married anymore. And
marriage is investment for men. It's very expensive for us. Mm-hmm. Marriage is the most expensive thing a man will do, period. So we don't get to enter into marriage and be like, oh, I don't like that, because the system is weighted against us. It rewards women and penalizes us. So a man doesn't get into a marriage and be like, oh, well, this ain't cool, let me go ahead and leave. That's not what men do, because it costs us. So no man just jumps into marriage. No man ever enters marriage with the idea he's not going to stay. Mm-hmm. Women do that all the time because they've been told, well, if you get married, you can always leave. Men don't have that option. We just don't.
There was one lady there. I remember her name. She said it was Mary Ann, and she made the statement that she was shocked at the loss of power, getting divorced. And then she went into lamenting about not being able to get a credit card and not being able to buy anything she wants. And, no longer having a name. And it was the power. It was a power of being his wife. Is that what she missed? Nobody said, some of them were like, I didn't want this marriage. I didn't want this divorce. But nobody said, I enjoyed being his wife. I enjoyed being married to him. I miss my husband. Everybody was pretty much talking about the luxuries that they missed out on having with the divorce. Nobody was ever talking about, I missed, him walking through the door. I missed laying next to him. I missed that man. It was just pretty much, I missed the security of it and the stability of marriage. Nobody ever just said, I missed my husband. I missed him. I enjoyed being his
Well, the
wife.
women on Oprah that I was listening to, they didn't say anything about missing anything. It's just they're there to complain. They're there to run the men down. They're there to demonize them. They're there to attack them. But they didn't actually say what it was. They didn't say they missed anything. They're just there to tell you that, by the way, I'm divorced and fabulous at 50.
Yes, and the woman that said, I was an amazing wife. I was an amazing wife. That doesn't make any sense. You cannot. How can you say you are an amazing wife? I've never met a man that said, my wife was amazing. I left her because I just didn't want to be married to her. She was just too amazing for me. It just doesn't make sense. Men are very much more invested in marriage than women.
This is just a continuation of you go, girl. You go, girl. You're fabulous. You're wonderful no matter what you do.
And the only time men check out on marriage is because he's no longer respected. He's no longer revered. He's no longer admired. The intimacy isn't there anymore. He's just pretty much a walking ATM and a fixture. It's more like a business arrangement. There's no reciprocity in this marriage at all. And he's probably has voiced his opinions because men just don't sit there and just take it. A woman will sit there and take it for decades and then check out and make her plans to be married. A man will say, hey, I'm not happy. This is what's going on. He will let you know before he just decides that he doesn't want to be married anymore. You're not shocked. You're not sprung. And they know this, but it's all being played on. I am a victim. Even the woman, what was her name? Joanne. She said that within 10 years of her marriage, she was like, this isn't what I thought it would be. But she only stayed because of the children. And then once the children were grown, she said she was done. Well, she checked out at that marriage in 10 years and stayed. Now she could have checked out then, but she stayed because she wanted to, claim the children. And I think that's a cop out too. I don't really.
No, look, she was checked out before the 10 years.
Yes.
That's just the milestone she's reciting. Remember, females have, their check marks. They have their check boxes. Okay, get married, check. Have kids, check. Okay, I fulfill my biological prerogative. Now leave, check. Get married, check. Have kids, check. Divorce, check. And men don't realize when they are part of a woman's checklist. You are part of a list of to-dos that she's given herself. And eventually one of those to-dos will be to leave you. If you're not looking at those things correctly. Well, I was one of the things I didn't get to say to Mike there and stuff, because it's not religious based, is that as men, you're supposed to give women something to buy into. That's where loyalty comes from. Too many men think if I make enough money, she should be loyal to that. One of your accomplishments is supposed to be that she's part of it. Women are loyal to what they're invested in. If you're doing something or building something, she better put some sweat equity into it. She better be involved. She better have to sacrifice for it. A woman is not going to sacrifice when everything's been given to her. If you cannot articulate this, then you can't require it because you don't know what you're doing. You think she's going to be loyal to you because you paid the bills. How much did that cost her? What did it cost her to get that? Because if that was just a given, because cooking's supposed to be a given, and if you think a chick's going to be a virgin, okay, that's supposed to be a given. That's not something she works for, something she works against, but it's not something that she works for. Okay, well, do the same thing with you. If everything you do for her is a given, if everything she has is a given, what is she loyal to? It didn't cost her anything. She didn't have to sacrifice anything. When a woman has to fight and scrap and claw to get a man, she values that. It was entirely too damn hard to get him. She values that. That's not an ideal. That's a physical reality that we can measure. That becomes tough when you start talking like that. And I think in a lot of the cases what happens is the chicks who end up on Oprah, all these old aged out chicks here, these are chicks the guys just gave it to. That was what they were doing there. They thought they were doing the right thing because they thought that's what their dads did. They thought that's what dad and granddad did. You find a woman, she's cool, and we just do that. And what I'm saying is, yeah, the rules have changed, man. The rules have changed. And one more thing, I'm taking a look at these. When people don't change. The fact they're 50 years old. If she's acting like this at 50, she was acting like this at 20. When we just saw on Oprah's program, y'all, what these women are doing at 50 and 54, they were doing that at 20 and 24. It's just now they become more of it. It's just more pronounced now. But this is what they were the whole time. And men overlook those things. Men cannot afford to be lonely. These women are sitting up here telling you that she keeps a dog and 3 girlfriends so that she's not lonely. So the relationship goes south and he ain't got nobody to talk to. She's been talking to her girlfriends the whole time. So he's sitting there in dire straits and doesn't have anybody to speak to, and she's got a bunch of people around her to support her. So it doesn't help you to be a man who's lonely. You're a sitting duck and you're a victim, and the female you're dealing with is not going to have that issue. Especially if she starts getting ready to go. She's not going to tell you. And the other thing is, females understand she better strike first. At least that's their ideology about it. So it doesn't help you to do that. And these females where they're acting and stuff, is guys, you should see that coming. They should see that coming. So if fellas get desperate, they want this kind of chick right here, men start putting together check boxes, but check boxes don't cost anything. This is going to be what he's given, but it's not going to cost her anything. And he thinks that's a positive. I'm telling you all, that's not a positive. It's not. Because as I pointed out, the females sacrifice the most for the men who have the most. What? Chris Brown got chicks paying him. The fellas who have the most and are the most valuable females sacrifice for that. They pay for that. You sitting there at your job and she's taxing you. So let me get this straight. Chris Brown, you'll pay him $1,200 to come see him for 5 seconds. I have to buy you a house. Really? You're not even married to Chris. Yeah, dude, she's taxing you. The time to deal with these things is not after you get married. The time to deal with these things is beforehand. Also, by the way, one more thing. For those of you who want to quote your Bibles and things, one more thing. In the Bible, the females are basically property. Oh, nobody, we don't want to remind people of that? Okay. Yeah, I mean, your daughter doesn't get to choose who she's in love with. That's not the way that happens. Dad says, you married this dude over here, you married this dude over here. That's where that goes. Oh, I'm not supposed to remind you of that? Okay. All right, fine. You don't like that part of it. You didn't like that book. Okay. Just checking. You can't insist on that today. You have absolutely zero way to impose that or insist on it. You cannot get to a fellow and be, hey, he's a good dude. He's got a nice looking daughter there. Let me tell him, hey, send your daughter over here. You can't do that. That's not an option. The daughter can say no. The daughter can say no. So there goes idealism. People are bringing you all rule sets that don't even exist anymore. You can't stone people for any reason. I don't give a damn how much of a bastard they are. You can't stone them for any reason. There's no one you can stone. Hell, we can barely execute them anymore. They kill 50 people. Got to wait 20 years to execute them. So, like I say, if you want to be indulged in the real world, these are the rules of the real world. Where we are, not where you wish we were. Now, if you're still talking about, well, this is what it should be here, and we're going to work on that, okay, operate under your fantasy if you want to, but out here in the real world, you can't impose those things. There are things we can do, but they're not going to be ideal-based. They're going to be performance-based and power-based, but not ideals. And fellas are scared of that. If you're a fellow who doesn't have power, what I'm saying right now is scary. You're like, hey, I ain't got nothing to bargain with. I know. We got to fix that. Yeah, but the world don't just give it to you. No, it doesn't. That's why it's respected. And then they start running into another thing. In the chat room, Mr. Buckner, you're absolutely correct. Most of the folk talking and running their mouths and whatnot, they haven't read the Bible from cover to cover. Then they talk to somebody like me and they get astonished that Jason has read it. Yeah, I have. Absolutely. That's why I can tell you what's in it and what's not. And that's why I was telling him, give me the chapter and verse. He didn't want to give a chapter and verse, and then he just starts blurting out Deuteronomy. I'm like, I'm not even going to argue this with you. That's not what this says. They don't want to do that. It's like, yeah, once you realize, oh, he does know the chapters and verse. Yeah, I do. Actually. Oh boy, that just got bad. Yeah, it does. Because some things are translated and some things are transliterated. And if you can't even name the 3 basic languages of the Bible, sit down. By the way, the Bible was not written in English. For those of you who didn't know. The original language is Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic. Some folks want to throw in their Latin. Mm-hmm. But Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic, right? Some things are translated, some are transliterated. All right. Do you really know what you're talking about? Not really? Okay. You have an ideal, though, and you're hoping that you can imprint that on today. Well, if we can just make the females do this, we can't make these women do nothing. We don't have that ability. You don't even have the social pressures of a biblical society to rely on. You don't even have that. So how are you going to impose that idealism? You can't. Well, then what do? You have to do something else. You have leverage, but that's not the leverage you'll have. You'll have something else. Also, last but not least, by the way, the females with the worst sexual histories are the religious ones. What? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm killing Mike and any other religious zealots, by the way, from the Catholic girls to the Baptist chicks, a.k.a. ski-wee. The religious chicks are the ones with the worst sexual behaviors. By the way, while he's sitting up here telling you all that his religion's a panacea, I'm sorry, reality and facts getting in the way again. Those are the ones adhering to things. Well, yes, she goes to church every Sunday, so you see, but the book also says God forgives. You can't erase that. The book says God forgives. Oh, good, because God's going to be doing a lot of forgiving this weekend. When I get back from wherever I'm going. And I'm telling you, that's your traditional values got you here. Now, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow when I tell you, by the way, do you realize your traditional values got you here? Yeah, you didn't think that's the road you were walking on. You thought your road was walking backwards to Jerusalem. You left that behind when you got planes, trains, and automobiles. They didn't have planes, trains, and automobiles in ancient Judea, people. They didn't have Chanel and Fendi bags. They didn't have that. You're trying to imprint your modern day world and say, ooh, we can just refigure that. You're not being realistic. Well, these are principles. Absolutely. Your principles have to have an authority. And once again, well, the Bible is the authority. I'm so glad to hear that. That means you are not. You guys understand you're going to be held to the letter of the law, not the spirit of it. You don't want to hear this part right here. This is going to break your souls. You want to use the Bible as your authority. I'm very glad to hear that. Then what you just said is that the Bible is in charge of your house, not you. Because there are a few verses in there about what you need to do about husbands who are no good. Men who are no good and not producing. You know, the Bible's guys used to stone them too. What? Your son is lazy, he's shiftless, he hangs out with no good nicks. Go read your Old Testament, people. You're eligible to get stoned too. Oh, they didn't explain that to him? He didn't know? Okay, he skipped that part of the thing. He's reading all the Gnostic chapters and things. Okay, you skip that part. Inconvenient. Not convenient to hear that? Okay. Yeah, because by the way, that's a thing there too. Hey fellas, if you're going to use that as your foundation, what that means is that's the authority. Well, the women should submit to their husband, unless you're a no good Nick. Now what? Oh, you're not no good Nick. You could never be. I'm a man. I got my man card. Valid. And therein comes the problem. So, like I say, if you're going to rely on something, all I'm going to say is rely on something you can drag in the room with you. It better be something you can drag in the room with you and show with you. Because everything else can be knocked down. Or it's open to interpretation or endless arguments. Your bank account's not open to argument. The car out front's not open to argument. The bill being paid and the rent being paid, that's not open for argument. Either you did or you didn't. That's math. That's not ideology. That's math. And once you got that, that's what's on the table. That does your talking for you. And if when you're a man, the whole point of having value is that she has to sacrifice to be with you. She's supposed to do that on the front end. If she just walked in and you ready to wife him up, I think that's a compromised position to be in. Because what you're telling her is that her value is higher than yours. And then you think you're going to flip it after you get married and say your value is higher than hers. And that's not going to happen. You can't sit up here and lay the world at the woman's feet and then tell her that you're the prize. And men are scared to do that. So I think a major factor, especially if they're in Oprah's audience, I think those are dudes who didn't make him sacrifice anything. Just, hey, she wants it, she gets it, and that'll shut her up. And those women have been sitting at home watching Oprah for decades and germinating nothing but absolute contempt for the men who took care of them. And now look what they're doing. They're going here decades later to call you what a bastard you were. And telling them what I know is not true. He just came home and said he didn't want both of them telling the same damn lie. The first two women telling the same lie. He just came home, I don't want to be married anymore. Who the hell does that? Who the hell gets off of work, on a random Wednesday? On the doors. Who does that? Nobody. Not even a female. A woman doesn't just walk up to you, she just wants a divorce. No, when she says it, though, she planned it a while ago. Mm-hmm. And we don't get to have a honest conversation about that. And Oprah's not helping them either. There's the killing part about it is, by the way, all these decades here later, the only thing she's groomed them for, she's got them all sitting around her like a bunch of children in a circle. She's big mama with the children in the circle. Remember, she always wanted to be that. That's why she set up that school for molesting girls over there in Africa. Damn! For everybody who remembers that. She always wanted to be big mama. Well, now she is. But she's done it the old-fashioned way. She cultivated a family of failures to make sure they would never get too far away. And now they're not. Now they've come back. They're losers, but that doesn't matter to her. Just so she doesn't care why they came back, just as long as they come back and stay. Because she doesn't count on Stedman. She doesn't have anything that makes her feel like a wife. So let's go get something that makes her feel like a mother. At least we can get that. All it's going to cost you is your opportunity. It's just going to cost you that. It's a cold ass game, y'all. This is the final receipts for the 80s. These chicks are out here getting their 50s right now. When they leave Oprah, I guess they can go get them OnlyFans. I suppose. It's a mess over there. They'll take to it. Oprah didn't tell them this part 30 years ago. Oprah can leave that studio there and still get in her limousine and go sit with her dog. So the women that she set up here and infected and contaminated, they don't have that option. They get to go see her for a few minutes. Okay, they'll never see her again in life. And she's off to the next one.
I want to say for the gentlemen out there, women respond to power. And you can't stand on anything outside of yourself that gives you power. The power has to come from you. There has to be consequences. And if there are no consequences of disrespecting your power, you're never going to be valued in the relationship. Never. And power doesn't abide by your ethics. It abides by your goals. So you want these women to respect you. You want these women to admire you. You want these women to be loyal to you. You have to prove that you are a man.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and deal with that right quick. Excuse me for interjecting here, but let me deal with that right quick. From a biblical standpoint, women couldn't just divorce you. Women couldn't just divorce you. She couldn't just be like, I don't like this, I'm gone. That wasn't going to fly. What I'm saying is that in those days, she was required by the society, not just by the religion. The society would enforce that. I'm bored, I'm not fulfilled, I'm not excited. That was not just cause for divorce. You go back home to your husband. We ain't trying to hear that. Okay, well, is that a woman being loyal or is that her following the law? Oh, yikes. Yeah, am I describing loyalty or am I describing a law-abiding citizen? So, of course, she's not thinking about just divorcing you because that's not really an option. She doesn't really have the ability to just willy-nilly divorce at will. And no one was going to support her in doing it. Now you're telling me in a 21st century environment, we're going to live by that ideal? An ideal that absolutely no one is enforcing. So, yeah, she can say these things, but you can't. How do you hold her to that? And were you mistaking that for loyalty? Even back then, were you mistaking that for loyalty? Because women are loyal. There are men that women are loyal to. Absolutely, there absolutely are. Just not the way he's talking about it. I've never seen an ultra-religious man who had a loyal female. You know, females who are religious zealots are not loyal. They're loyal to their beliefs. The two of them might have like this symbiotic relationship where they're both equal nuts, you know. But other than that, no. No.
And for the women who are religious, especially, Christian Baptist women, the preacher has more power in your marriage than you do.
Ask Derrick Jackson how that turned out.
Yeah, the pastor, she'll listen to the pastor before she listens to the husband.
Yeah, once you tell them that the Bible is the supreme authority, do not be surprised when she starts. There's too much stuff in the Bible for you to police. You're not going to be able to police every chapter and verse. There's going to be something in there that you don't even remember or know about. And that's all she needs. Here comes her testament. And it'll be a new interpretation that contradicts something that you're saying. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. By the way, I'm not challenging your religious beliefs. You may believe what you wish to, but please understand you cannot then turn around and just say the Bible is valid when you want it to be. That's not going to work. Either the Bible stands, or as they say in the religious world, it stands or falls on any one of its parts. Okay, well, if it stands and we bring up something here, like this is like being in court, this can be interpreted as refuting something that you said. Well, you're not the final authority. The Bible is. And if the Bible contradicts you, we don't listen to you. We listen to the Bible. And that's the way that goes. And by the way, you told everybody to do that. The wife, the kids, you told them, we stick by this. And I'm like, they weren't thinking that way. What I'm telling you is that you're only going to get as much knowledge out of your religion as the society adheres to it. You're only going to get as much of your particular interpretation of it as the society adheres to it. If the society is not adhering to it, you're not going to get much traction. And vice versa. If the society is adhering to it, you don't have to try very hard. They're trying to figure out how to do this without the society, without the social component. That's why it's not going to work. You're trying to eliminate the social component because you don't qualify for it. Okay, you need to fix that part. That takes work and diligence and this, that, and the other. Why can't the women just be good to be good? For the same reason that men are not good to be good. We're not good to be good. We're good because we get something out of it. And folks are trying to figure out how to get something without being on some altruistic basis that really doesn't exist. I mean, that's a basic of human behaviors. We are motivated by pain and pleasure. And you're telling us we're supposed to just do something because it's the right thing to do. Well, who says it's right? I really wanted to stop when he first said righteous. The first time I heard him say righteous at the very beginning, I really wanted to stop him right there, but I let him keep talking because I'm like, righteous? Who's righteous, man? Identify who this righteous person is you're referring to. Who's righteous?
But that's very subjective. What one person may believe is righteous, another person may not. Exactly.
So this one we immediately get off an interpretation. And he's going to insist, as all religious folk do, that you adhere to his interpretation. Mm-hmm. That the boundaries of, quote, righteous are the boundaries that he says. Even if you say, I don't think that's what the Bible means. No, he wants you to adhere to his. And if you're going to be his wife, well, then you have to adhere to the boundaries that he says. And I'm just saying, okay. Really? So when you mention these subjective terms, What that really means is that, okay, if it's subjective, so who's going to define it? Oh, he will. Not the Bible? Nope, me. You got me right here. Okay, because the Bible says, no. I got this. Man of the house. Submit now. And then it becomes that. Next thing you know, you're a sister wife. Yeah. Watch these cats who fixate on the Old Testament. Here it comes. This won't be long.
Yeah.
Well, especially if they're reading books that weren't even canonized. Okay, don't worry. This is going somewhere.
Yeah.
This is going somewhere, and your daughter gonna be along for the ride. So, like I say, and Oprah would love that too. She's into anything. After all these years, she's still invoking gurus and mysticism and various nonsense. And by the way, how'd that work out for the women? Imagine where we would be today, Ambrosia, if Oprah had spent 4 decades talking to the men. Imagine where we'd be.
Yeah. Well, one of the ladies, the Marianne lady, she was saying that, one of the ways she took her power back was that she was going to be able to set the intention of how the divorce would go.
Wow.
Basically, the way she tried to, to voice it is like, I may not can stop this divorce, but I can dictate how the divorce will. And you can't, especially if he's already, the fact that he doesn't no longer want to be married to you, they keep grasping at
no, not true.
What?
Not true. She can control the divorce. I can make this hell.
Well, yeah.
That's what she means by that. Well, I might not be able to stop the divorce, but I can control how it goes. What the hell does that mean? I can make this hell on you.
Yeah.
I can drag this out. I will light your ass on fire. That's what she means.
And she spoke about, intentions and affirmations and how she got that idea from Oprah, from listening to Oprah for all this time. And she's been applying these things, since listening to Oprah, and none of them saved her marriage. In the end, none of it saved her marriage.
Was it ever supposed to? Was it ever supposed to save your marriage? Or was it supposed to keep you a loyal listener and watcher?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the goal. And it succeeded. They've been watching her since they were young women. They have gone from never being married to married with children, and now they've come out the other end. And she started off that whole thing by basically, her whole attitude, and you saw it, was just basically, I told you so. Told you that wasn't going to work. Y'all worry about getting married. That don't mean nothing. That was her whole attitude about it. She was just dripping with contempt because it's not available. It's not available.